Crank up the music. Keep an eye on the back.
This presentation is provided to you to amuse or entertain and not to conform or inform. The content on this channel should not be used to replace professional, financial, medical, or legal advice. All footage taken and used from public sources falls under the fair use of the Digital Millennial Copyright Act of 1998. Therefore, no breach of privacy or copyright has been committed.
Depending on the reaction of the public officials, I go by either two. One is plaintiff. The other,
So they're perfectly fine with you doing it. They just wanted to know who you were.
Well, that's how they would recognize me is people either know me by plaintiff or sugar daddy. Okay, plaintiff, if they violate my rights, then there's obviously a lawsuit. And if they realize that it's my tax dollars that pay for their sweet lifestyle, then I'm sugar daddy.
Don't forget Captain Awesome.
Captain Awesome is what my friends call me.
I like that.
Captain Awesome.
Okay.
Have a great day.
You too, guys. Thank you.
Satellite tracking continues.
Wow, there we go. Unmute me. Hey, everyone. I jumped right into it because this is quite a show we have for you tonight. Of course, it's me. So happy Friday, everyone. Whoop, whoop. Glad to see you all here. The energy I get from the chat and from you all, I love it. And so, but I've got two amazing guests tonight. Of course, you've seen Crispus of Texas before. That's Finn down on the bottom. And for those of you keeping track, maybe that you're not familiar with him, here, this is this guy. All right, but that's enough of that. We've seen you enough. Well, great opening. I just love it. That's so great. It's one of my favorite things. One of my favorite openings, other than mine, of course. So, but for everyone that's new here, we have Majorly Awesome, otherwise known as Rogue Nation. Very nice to meet you, sir. And I'd like to start off. I made you an intro too. So, and you were in the joke. Did you notice that? That's usually where I talk, and I threw you in there. So
right on.
Here you go. Here's your opening.
This presentation is provided to you to amuse or entertain and not to conform or inform. The content on this channel should not be used to replace professional, financial, medical, or legal advice.
That was the wrong one. This one.
Power does what it wants.
All right, guys, how we doing?
Power does what it wants.
What's the story, right?
Story's about corruption today. Were you guys know anything about it?
Power does what it wants.
Can you ask him to point on the dial where it's making them uncomfortable?
Power does what it wants.
And the shirt says, I believe, balls deep.
My name? Yeah. Major Lee Awesome.
He says his name is Captain Awesome.
Do you need anything?
Yeah, what's going on?
What do you guys want? I don't have a clue.
Okay. Why were we called?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, I don't really know how to respond to that, sir.
Well, I'm asking you what you're doing. You got a video camera in my face, so...
Yeah, I feel threatened.
I don't have a video camera in your face.
Would you mind telling us why?
I don't answer questions.
Okay.
Power does what it wants.
And that happens to Eli, who did the soundtrack. Shout out to Eli.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, no, dude, that was excellent. That was some good editing in there.
I mean, you can have it if you want, but I took that. Everyone gets their openings transitioning. You have like 3 or 4, so those are all from his channel. I just threw it all together, and but yeah, one of the things that I found fascinating about the One Auditors. Well, first of all, I'll tell you what. Let me put a pin in that. Let me explain to you. If there's people that aren't familiar with me, I started this channel not because I can make any money on it, or I wanted to lose a lot of my friends and family, was because I felt compelled. I was learning the lies of the world differently than what you all are doing, and I felt compelled to turn it around. And then that's where I found my spirituality. They told me I was born and raised Jewish. I was never practicing religion. I thought of God as just like a way to be. And so then in the last few years, I found out that, all the things that I believe in. And so what I'd like to do is we can talk about that and anything you want to. But first, I'd like to go over like your histories and Finn involved too, because he said, I guess you were one of his inspirations and stuff. And so for the audience that doesn't know about the First Amendment auditors, I learned about it from my wife. She started following or watching. I think the very first one she watched was NC Tyrant, which he's hilarious. But he's like, we never heard anyone talk to police like that, right? I mean, He does this whole thing. He says, "Bam," and flips him a finger.
Yeah.
And I think you were the second one she started watching. And so, but what I find interesting about you and Finn and some of the others, and shout out to Joe, he's in the audience tonight. He was the first auditor I got to talk to, and that's how I met Finn.
Cameras everywhere.
Surveyor Raw and cameras everywhere, and Picklin. Yeah. And if you haven't seen, I did a whole show on him, majorly, that where he played this character. He went to this farmer's market. There's like a 3-part series, and it's phenomenal. And he yells at everyone.
Check it out. Yeah.
Oh, it's phenomenal, and that's how I fell in love with that
Northwest. And yeah, they were both inspirations to me. And George, thank you, man, for being here, because this guy Richard is a great guy. I just want to let you guys meet. You guys already heard enough about me, but I've told you why I was inspired to do this was one of his visits at a child detention center. You know.
Question for you: or do you have a squeaky pig toy?
No, that's Chuck Bronson.
Chuck Bronson. Okay, well, we got that solved. But yeah, you've told me that story, and that's the shocking. And isn't that the one, Finn, that you went back to, or no, you talked about it you went to another one in your area?
No, we went back to that same one.
It was. Okay.
We saw it on deck. We looked through the window and we found, we don't want to see any kids. Not that weird thing. We want to know that how many kids there are there and how many beds. Those are 2 simple questions.
Yeah.
And they shoot you away, right, man?
Oh yeah, they chased me away. I think the first time they called the police and had me trespassed. The second time they just wouldn't answer their door at all. And then finally, I think on the third time, they came out and they gave me the records that I had requested. But yeah, I mean, the first time I showed up, it was mayhem. They had 10 guys all pile out on me, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and this and that and this and that, and they called the cops, and the cop that showed up, he wasn't well versed in the law, and
he never seemed to be.
No, I mean, if there's one theme that runs through my videos, and again, I've got about 1,000 videos, and they're done all over the country, from Florida to California to Chicago to New York. And if there's one theme that runs through all of them, is that the majority of the police do not know the laws that they're enforcing here in America.
Yeah. Every channel we watch, it seems to be the common theme. It's actually uncommon for a police officer to know some of them, if not all of them. I don't think I've seen anyone that knows them all. They might not.
No man could know. Yeah, no man could know them all. But I mean, they have to deal with just the criminal statutes. Yeah. That's one title usually out of. I think Florida's got 50 titles. Some states got more, some states got less. But each title is something different. Public property, executive, judicial, taxation, and one title is called criminal, and those are the criminal statutes, and they don't even really have to know all those many, because there's some that's just obvious: murder, rape, you know what I mean, some of the bigger ones. You don't have to get into what's known as the elements of the crime in order to correctly diagnose some guy sitting over here stabbing another guy. You don't have to be like, well, I don't know if that's murder or not. I mean,
right.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, that's obvious. But
they kind of take critical thinking out of it. They want to make it so, like, you guys show that they mostly force, and I'm generalizing. There are good cops out there. We get it, but overall, they don't even know, like, say, the first 4 what do you call it, constitutional amendments. They don't even know the first 4 of them, which covers a lot of what you guys do. That's not too hard. And the fact that everybody that has a camera walking the street seems to know more than any of them. What, they get 6 months training, you all taught me. Had no idea.
Yeah.
You know what they know more? is how to violate our rights. More than knowing our rights, they know how to violate them in and out. They know all the loopholes on how to get us thrown in a cage.
And obviously the system is unfair towards the citizens. You just showed it. Finn, you put something on your channel today about a cop. I didn't know this story, but I mean, I can paraphrase it fast if you want to fill in the gaps. But it's they were taking down someone, and they put him in the back of a squad car. And then I think it was a sergeant went to the window and got yelling in his face, pulled out pepper spray, and a female officer yanked him back by his belt. And that's when he turned on her, grabbed her by the throat, slammed her against the wall, pulled the pepper spray on her, but then he walked away from it. And he just, was it over a year? And now he just got the investigation over. And what I found,
that for with privilege?
And as disgusting as this sounds, not only he was like on leave, probably paid leave, but then he's out on bail. But in any case, he could face up to 5 years. But one of the counts was when he pulled the pepper spray on the female officer, they said that is up to a year in jail. But when he pulled it on the guy in the car in handcuffs, the local citizen, 60 days. What the hell?
No, it was reversed.
Yeah.
It was reversed. The cop. No, you're right. Yeah.
The charge against the cop is more severe than the charge against the regular citizen.
For the
Even
same
though it's
crime.
the same thing.
For the same crime.
Yeah. He's going to get potentially 5 years for choking her and slamming her against the wall. That's a separate. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll stop.
No, that legally they're like holding them in higher regard. It's like we're all second-class citizens after the cops. There's like a Florida law for that now.
Yeah. So you do the identical thing on a cop, you get more.
Where we went, and the guys in the blue shirts are the ones who are working at this place. The other people were there to ask the same two questions that George here asked. How many kids here and how many beds? And they had this canned answer for us. And this is way, way, way nicer than they treated him. Have that queued up.
Oh, I didn't take the cue. Hang on.
No, that's fine. That right there.
Information. I will need to check with our public information officer.
Don't tell him I'll be back in a few days. Nobody wants you in this town. Nobody wants you around, period. That sucks!
Ensure that this information does not need to be redacted in order to comply with confidentiality law.
There's nothing to be redacted.
Please give me one moment while I check for you, all right? And then please, you can contact DJJ's Public Information Officer at 850-717-2597 or call the Office of General Counsel's main line at 850-921-4129 and explain the nature of the request.
Let me ask you, bro. What's your name? Who's telling us this?
Mr. Roker.
Roker?
Thank you. Ask you guys something. What's so funny, bro, when we were like trying to talk to you guys? What's so
So they wouldn't tell us just to count on deck. How many kids were there? Just like Rogue asked. We finally got it by looking through the window. Sorry about the slow connection.
Yeah.
You see that? That's the
Oh, I
total
see.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah, 23.
Huh. But they wouldn't give you that.
That was around this time, well, a little bit, about a month ago, a year ago. A year and a month ago. There we go. I don't know if the numbers are the same, if they're more, but this is how many kids are locked up, and those guys are looking after them. Does that
And no one
not put
no one checks on them. Like you're not even allowed. So it's whatever they yeah. And I've actually, we helped a child that was in the system, and we helped him get out. And he told us horror stories that went on down there. It's sad. You know, the system is set up just like everything else. It's not actually for us. They make money if the longer you go to prison over any stupid charge, like, you know, weed possession, whatever, they make money on us. So, yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, this has become quite the downer show there, Finn. But it's important. It's important. We need to, and that's why I like talking to you, though, because we need to keep our mind open to all these subjects. Anything. We need to understand that there's more to life than, you know, what baseball scores are. You know, there's people that memorize player stats all the way back through history and then don't look into any of this, or what you all do, and how our rights are being, you know, just eroded away because we're not using them. And that's, you guys do pushback.
But George
and that's
showed me the stuff, and I like took over. I mean, I promised myself I wouldn't interrupt like I always do. Go ahead, George. I'm sorry, man.
But there you go, interrupting. So what do we get? Get this one.
That's very true.
It's all right. I do it all the time. Did he leave? Is he there? I see his books.
I'm here.
What books are those?
That's just a couple of law books, public property, criminal law, and some other stuff, Blonde's torts.
How much of that have you studied?
I've been studying law probably for about 7 to 8 years now.
That's fascinating because, like we just said, the police officers get 6 months training, and that's why they always get into trouble, is because they go up against people with a camera and don't realize they don't know the laws, and they've enforced feelings.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. These guys are at a disadvantage when they come upon me, and you know, sometimes it hurts and it bruises their ego, and I end up going to jail. But you know, a lot of times it ends up sort of as a draw that first time. But you know, when I got into the movement, the community, a lot of the guys would just go around and videotape, and, you know, these guys would, you know, violate their rights, or they'd kick them out or whatever. And then, you know, that's where the story would end, and they would never go back and, you know, go back to these places or make any kind of corrective change. So when I got into it, I made a decision that if in order for me to see that what I'm doing is actually working, I have to go back. I have to keep going back until they learn the law. And it's almost like some people train puppies where they rub their nose. If they peed on the carpet, they rub their nose in it, you know, time and time again till they learn. That's how I look at what I'm doing. I just keep going back and rubbing the law in their face until they realize that, hey, this is the way it is. You know, you might not like it. And I love using that whole thing where, hey, you know, if you don't like it, you can always petition your senator.
Pop that fat kitty out of your mouth and stop taking my government taxes. Like, all comfortable there.
Well, that's why I put that in that intro. I love that part when she asked you what your name, and you said, well, it's either plaintiff or defend. No, what is it? Plaintiff. If they violate my rights, or sugar daddy. And I like that line where you go, if they realize that my tax dollars pay for their sweet lifestyle, because it is. They make six figures.
Dude, that's exactly what it is. That's what the citizens are. The citizens are sugar daddies.
They look at us with disdain. With it's, what's the word, man? It's audacious. The audacity of them to look at us with disdain when we pay taxes too. Wow, with my taxes. Shut up.
That makes no sense, that logic. It's so funny when they do that.
But you know what it is? It's not even that they pay taxes, because the government takes the taxes out of the check before you even get the check. So what happens is they don't pay taxes. they get less of our tax money is what it is.
Yeah. They didn't have to. They never even saw the money. Yeah, I know. And they don't get it. Like when you walk into a building, I love the ones. They just had one recently, and I think like there was 5 auditors there because it was on like all these different channels. But you walked in and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, you're in my building." And they're like, "Oh, when did you buy all this?" It's like because they're government-run buildings. They own. I like when you guys walk in and say, the owners are here to check on our products or our cars or our buildings. That's the thing is people don't understand.
We got a call. Somebody matching your description, sir. He had a badge just like yours. We're on a call. We have to come when we get a call.
Oh, I thought there was more.
No,
I know the other.
Sometimes it's like it turns it around on them because that's what
I
they'll
love
say.
when you guys do that.
Oh, we got a call, but they're like, "What are you doing here?" Well, we got a call about you guys. Somebody in the same Gumby suit.
Yeah, we did that.
Clown.
We did that outside the federal prison in Atlanta. We were across the street after we went. Because there's a public sidewalk that goes right in front of the federal prison. They got a gate and the fence and everything. But we just stood out on the sidewalk and videoed. And, there were some guards there and they seemed concerned. And we were walking across the street back to our car because no one had showed up yet. Sometimes they take a while because they're on a coffee and donut break. But they finally showed up and they pulled up and he got out the car and there's me and our other buddy, James Madison, audits. And me and him are back there and the cop goes, we got a call. And me and James both at the same time said, "Oh, well, we got a call also." And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, we got a call that there's inmates being abused here in the federal prison." I said, who called you? He says, "The prison." I said, "Well, that's the same guys that called us." Well, yeah. Well, how'd they call you? I said, "I don't know, man." I said, "Somebody probably snuck a cell phone in or something." I said, "I don't know. They called the hotline, and here we are. We showed up and they were just so confused. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
That's fantastic.
Actually, I added to that confusion with, hey, credit where credit is due to the broken clock of Mark Stout. Because I watched him say to a cop one time, hey, this is a consensual conversation. I'm not being detained, right? Right off the bat, he told him that. And that's what I was trying to do with these cops who showed up here at this federal prison in Atlanta that looks so ominous. Like, that shit is haunted AF. You can tell.
I can imagine.
But
well, so Rogue, how did you start?
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
It's been a long journey. It's really.
What made you turn your camera around and start filming them? What was
my inspiration came from another guy. It's how a lot of people get into the movement. They find some guy that they can connect with, that they enjoy what he does, and they watch their stuff. And my guy was Jeff Gray, which Wrights Crispy also watches as well, I'm sure. And he's been doing it for probably about 12 years now. So when I was on YouTube and watching the cop block videos and other stuff, there was this guy, Jeff Gray, Honor Your Oath. He was down here doing stuff in Florida, and there was another guy called Joel Chandler who was doing a lot of public record request videos and stuff like that. And I had a lot of questions that wasn't getting answered about the government and society and how things were running and why this is this way and why things are that way. And I wasn't getting anywhere, and I saw these guys. They had picked up cameras and they had went out there and they were getting answers. They were getting in their face. They were getting answers. And I said, because again, I'd been studying law for, at this time, probably at least 3, maybe 4 years at this time. And I told my wife, I said, listen, I said, this is something that I can do because I've got the knowledge to rebuff them. And I think I can get some of my answers. And I think that maybe I can also help some people. Because the largest part, you know, of the whole issue is ignorance, not just on the police's part, but also on American citizens' part. And we could thank the public school system for the indoctrination that taught us not to think. But um, so that's pretty much how I got into it. Uh, a story down here called the Dozier School for Boys.
Taught us
Was
what to think.
Yeah, taught us what to think exactly.
Yeah.
The story about Dozier School for Boys it was a state run facility where there were upwards of like 80 to 100 kids that had been raped and murdered and beaten. And I said to myself, if this is a state run facility and it's overseen by other state agents, then the only logical conclusion that I can come to is that the state is incapable of watching over the state. So, as part of my civic duty, because again, I'm a big, you know, law reader, and I'm also a big history reader. So I collect, like those books in my picture. I collect old law and old history books, and so I'm well versed on the First Amendment, what it was supposed to be for, which is to shame our public officials into doing what's noble. Um, and it just kind of went from there, and I went out by myself because when I started there were only a couple of people in Florida doing it at the time, and at that particular time they had even stopped or had slowed down. So I started doing
Shaming our public officials. Press is not just a printing press. It's pressing your government to do the right thing. When they're acting out of line, you put it in the printing press, yes, and you put it out. But everything that is journalism is something that somebody doesn't want to put out. Everything else is public relations. I think that's from 1984.
Yeah. I thought you were just really smart. That sounded really good. But no, it's true. And that's the other thing they always say to you. Where's your press pass? There is no such thing since you guys know the year, but no, they haven't issued press pass. There's no, you could print one out if it makes them happy. I made my own. I did
that. I did that just to make them happy,
just
so I
took a
could
sticker.
go in the room and record a trial. I printed one up. And, they looked at it when I was walking in, and this is a courthouse with marble walls, and the guy's squinting. He goes, "Who are you with?" I said, "Bang!" Said, "Bolt Action News Group." And he's like, "What?" And I said it even louder. It was bang. And then the other cop goes, "What? Why are you screaming?" I said, "Because this guy can't hear me."
Well, so I had a question for you. I forgot. Well, okay, so for people that are thinking of doing this or watching it, first thing I would have to say is whatever money that they get, they deserve, because you literally are putting, well, your life on the line in some aspects. I saw one where someone called in and said he thinks there's a gun, and I think it was Slow or somebody's, and San Luis Obispo or one of them, and they showed up with AR-15s, and they came in hot. And then there's other times where you can get arrested, even if you're within your rights, they still arrest you.
Life and liberty.
Yeah, and so what they'll do is, now it seemed like they'll go ahead and arrest you on a bogus thing, knowing you can fight it, but they still mess with you. And so I guess my question is like, what do you feel about? I know you've got several times you have cases and stuff that you've gone through. Like, how do you keep doing that? I guess that's the thing. Does that ever?
When I was a youth, I was a troubled youth, and I got into trouble when I was young. So the aspect of going to jail never scared me. It was never a tale of that. My only concern is that um, me and my wife are kind of old school. She is a stay-at-home mom who homeschools our girls. Our girls have never stepped foot in public school and never will.
Excellent.
And so I work, all the time. But so my only concern is not being able to take care of them. If I'm away for a long time in jail. But um, you know, and I tell people this that are starting out. You want to be where you can be. Okay, so in our and I call it a job, but that's because I work it like a job. But in our field, you got to know exactly what is going on, where you are, where you're standing, and what the law is. And if for any reason you feel uncomfortable or you feel that there might be something that's missing there, you need to withdraw, retreat. You know what I mean? Because it is your freedom here on the line. And there's a lot of laws on the books. I'm fighting a charge now in Georgia called loitering near inmates.
What?
All right. Yeah, loitering near inmates. And it's a felony. And
And
it
from
could
when is
carry.
that? When did that occur?
That was my last arrest for auditing, December of 2020 in Georgia.
2020, December 2020, and they still haven't thrown that stupid shit out.
No, I'm still fighting charges. I don't have a court date yet, and they still have my equipment. I spent $1,500 on a camera, and they took it for evidence. Now, it's stupid. You could tell it's just retaliation because
Right.
they took the camera and they never applied for a search warrant for over a year. So finally, I made a motion to exclude any evidence that even if they were to get a warrant, they wouldn't be allowed to use any of the information they got off the camera because it was
You
a
can do it in
unjust
time, right?
delay. What?
Yeah, they failed to ask for it in time.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have a
We
lot
don't
of
want to
time.
give them any ideas.
Right. Yeah. They
But
can
see,
look
it's-
at the law themselves.
No, I'm
And it's-
facing a charge from October of 2020 still in Georgia. They won't drop. And I'm not a criminal. I haven't committed a crime at all. And that's how they are in Georgia. And it was 3 times in as many states. How many times for you, George? Like in
What,
2020
arrest?
alone. Yeah, in 2020 alone. 4 or 5.
What, arrest?
Yeah.
No, I've only got a total of 4, 2 in 2019 and 2 in 2020.
Oh, okay. When did you get taken for 8.5 days? Wasn't that last year?
Yeah, that was last year, but that was my fault. I have these little stickers, and I put one on a sign, and I shouldn't have put it on the sign, and so I had to work that out. But I don't count that because that wasn't part of my auditing or my activities there. It was a little
1 inch by 1 inch sticker on
it
a
was
cross sign.
Yeah, it was a little criminal mischief charge that they put on me because they were looking. Because seriously, they look for anything, right? So
Yeah.
I went to the buildings guy and the road guy, the ones that repair the signs and do the signs and everything, and I showed him a picture and I showed him everything, and I said, "How much would it cost
Well,
to
give the
fix that
backstory
sign?"
because these folks haven't seen it. Remember, they haven't seen that incident.
Right,
And
right.
You spent 8.5 days, bro.
Yeah. So what happened was I was in this town, and I was at the health department, and I was doing an audit. They kicked me out. They trespassed me. I told the cop, I was like, "Look, I'm like, this isn't legal." She came outside. She was like, "Oh, you got to give me your ID." I said, "Listen, in Florida for a trespassing warning, you don't need an ID. It's actually against the law for the cops to hold me just to get my ID for a trespassing warning." And I told her that. I gave her the case law and everything. Nope, she wouldn't hear it. Took down my information, which I gladly give up when it comes to either going to jail or giving up your rights. I'm a proponent of always giving up your rights and fighting it in court later. A lot of people think that the only way that you
Because
can stand up for your rights or fight for your rights is if you get arrested. Oh, well, then you get
yeah,
sued. Man, you can
they're
sue.
under the illusion of actual justice in the courtroom. When that doesn't occur, I'll show you that.
Right, and that's the other thing too, though. You also have to be able to have the time to defend these things and the money to pay fines and bail out, even if you can get reimbursed later. Like you just said, all your equipment is still somewhere in a lock area, which, by the way, could not even be there possibly. We had an occasion in the town near where I am where they had in their evidence box, they had cops that were stealing like jewelry and things that have been stolen from places, and guns that were supposedly destroyed ended up back on the street. And the last thing is they have those drop boxes for all the drugs and stuff that you want to not, pour into the streams. Because here in Washington, they dump down the toilets, and now the local salmon, you don't want to eat anything that's
So many
right
people have done that. It's in everybody's water. You think Flint, Michigan is the only problem?
Yeah.
People
And
are drugged
so what?
up in the water
But what
system.
they did is they put the boxes in this police station, and the cops were stealing it.
Yeah.
And one of them got up on charges. And like anybody else, did she go away and drug it? No, she got administrative leave, paid leave, and drug rehab, and then reassignment somewhere else. It's completely separate rules for them. So.
Absolutely. And what I was saying there was that, even if you're just walking down the street and a cop rolls up on you and he hops out of the car and he says, "Hey, you're detained, you're suspicious, or whatever." If they don't have like actual, what we call RAS, but it's reasonable articulable suspicion in order to do a Terry stop. It's known as a Terry stop, a short investigative detention. If they don't have a real reason, then that's an actionable claim. That's a claim that you can file a lawsuit violation for. And a lot of people don't realize that. The same thing when they try to ID you. If they don't have a reasonable suspicion that you're involved in some kind of criminal activity, now they don't have to tell you exactly what crime you're suspected of. They just have to suspect you of, some kind of criminal activity. So if you're well versed in the law and you understand, what they call the totality of the circumstances, I'll give you a perfect example. You're walking in a high crime area at night. You're dressed all in black. You've got, a screwdriver and maybe like a punch in your back pocket. That would fit reasonable suspicion. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's a high crime area. You're wearing all dark clothes at night. You got burglary tools on you. This looks suspicious. This is a good reason to stop a person. But if you're just walking down the sidewalk in the middle of the day, humming to yourself, you've got a flower tucked behind your ear, you know what I mean? Like, this is not suspicious, no matter if the Karen that lives down the block said you were suspicious, because people call the police on people all the time. Those are just allegations, So.
We saw one the other day where the neighbor called the police on his neighbor because he was supposedly stealing water, but it was just a retaliation from the cops because he had done an audit or something on him. Because number one, they didn't even know which neighbor. The cops said they didn't know. And second, the water at that complex is part of the money you pay for rent. So the water's free. So he's like, how do I steal something that's free anyways? Like none of it makes
retaliation. Sense. You're right. You
Yeah.
said it. And that's what I was trying to bring up with Major League Awesome here, man. That guy, I fall short because what he did, man, is we plan on lawyers' fees and bail, and we have that set up before. Like a lot of other people who do this don't think about that. He and I have that. We have that already set, and it's not something that we're going to go online and say, "Hey, help us out with this," But when they take 8.5 days of your life away, you don't plan for that. That was an extenuating circumstance.
Right. Let me finish telling that story though, or else I'll forget and we'll get backtracked. So basically, So we did this all at the health department. I told the officer that there's going to be litigation over this fact that she's unlawfully ID'd me and trespassed me. And of course I'm going to leave on my own. So as I'm leaving, I get in my truck. And I drive up to the police department because first of all, I'm going to put in complaints on these officers for the way they treated me, right? So I'm live streaming it as I'm getting out of my truck and then walking, because you had to walk down the street, cross the street, and then there was the police station. So I was, live streaming it. And as I go, sometimes I put my stickers in places to advertise my website. And they were watching my live stream and they saw me put the sign on.
Activision News Network.
Yeah, and it literally it's like an inch by an inch. Okay, that's how big this sticker is, an inch by an inch. It's a quarter would cover it up. Okay, I put it on the sign. It wasn't a traffic sign. It was a crosswalk sign. So not even a traffic control device. And I popped it on there. They saw that on the live stream. Not while I was there, but I guess a couple days later is when they saw it. And then they put out a warrant for my arrest.
For the sticker?
For the sticker, right. Criminal mischief, right? Criminal mischief. Yeah, so
wait. So your whole life you said that you were fighting, you were kind of out of control or whatever you said, however you said it. And then to think that the one time you're actually really going to jail is because of a 1-inch sticker? Come on.
Yeah. It's funny, but it gets worse. So me and again, our buddy James Madison Audits were out in Seminole County, Florida, which is just the county north of Orlando. And we're out, it's like midnight or whatever. And I don't even realize I got a warrant for my arrest.
The sticker thing happened up in the Panhandle, like 4.5-5 hours away, up in the Panhandle of Florida.
Right. Right.
So go ahead.
So we're out auditing, and we're at the Longwood Police Department, and I go up to the front door. It's late at night, lobby's closed or whatever. So I pushed the button on the call box. I said, hey guys, I'm just going to go ahead and go around back and take a look at all the vehicles or whatever, because that usually gets them all scared or whatever. So I told them that, and we walked around, and sure enough, we had 3 cops roll up by us, and one of them went by my car. I guess he had a tag reader, and they read the tag, saw that I had a warrant. They approached us, said, hey, is that your car over there? And I'm like, maybe, whatever, why? And they're like, well, whoever owns that car's got a warrant for their arrest. And then they pulled up the picture of the registered owner, which was me, and whatever, got the warrant. So I'm like, yeah, I had no problem. I'm like, look, if I got a warrant, I want to take care of it. So let's go ahead and get this done. They arrested me. They took me to Seminole County Jail, and the county that had put out the warrant, Walton County, they didn't want to come get me. It's like it's like a long process. I ended up staying like 7 days in Seminole County Jail. Yeah. And then they transferred me over to Tampa. Yeah, they transferred me over to Tampa.
I don't think they did this for the Night Stalker. Come on.
Hold on, dude. So now I'm in Tampa, and I'm at the Hillsborough County Jail, and I'm there for like 2 days. And it's like 8:30 at night. They come into my cell, and they're like, pack up your stuff. You're out of here. And I'm like, what?
Well,
and sure enough,
we didn't know he was going to Hillsborough. We thought he was going to Walton County. We didn't know he was getting transferred there. So James Madison,
how far away is that?
Jumped in his Tesla and drove all the way up to the Panhandle, and then had to drive back because we, thanks to Cookie, her brother was left to die by these paramedics, and they covered it up in Polk County, Florida. Cookie Groover, y'all look that up. She's our bloodhound on record.
So you guys went to the wrong place?
Told us where he was, but he couldn't communicate to us. So she was doing all the records research and got this to us. So we found out that he was actually in Hillsborough County, Southwest instead of Northwest, where he
So
was
how
supposed to
far
be
is the
going.
difference? How far away were you, like, majorly?
Huge. Like, go ahead, bro.
Is he there? Ground control to majorly. There he is.
Sorry,
Hey,
yeah.
no worries. So, okay, so now you've been transferred hours away.
Yep. So now I'm in Tampa, and I've been there like a day and a half. They released me at like 8:30, and you know what happened is Walton County said, "Well, hey, we don't want him anymore," and and Tampa couldn't hold me because I didn't have a charge or nothing to hold me on. So
no one can hold Rogue Nation. Go on.
So they ended up letting me go, but then they ended up filing charges and prosecuting me over this, right? And
the sticker?
Yeah, no, dude, for real, the sticker, right? And I went to the first court hearing, and I told the judge, misdemeanors in Florida don't get jury trials. There's only a few misdemeanors in Florida that will get a jury trial, and the criminal mischief is one of the misdemeanors that is mandatory that you get a jury trial. So I went into the courtroom, and I told the judge, I said, I want a jury trial. And he's like, well, misdemeanors don't get jury trial. I said, no, I'm pretty sure this one gets a jury trial. And he's like, well, if you can quote me the case law and everything, we'll put it out there for you or whatever. And I didn't have it right off the top of my head. So I went out to my car real quick after my case was over with for that hearing. And I looked it up real quick on my phone. Took me like 5 minutes, looked it up, went back in, told the state attorney, I was like, this is the case law. Tell the judge, let him know I want a jury trial, mandatory. And he told him that. And I did pro se on the whole case. Like, I did it all myself. So basically they came to me with a what they call a PDA, which is a prosecutor deferral agreement, where if you meet certain conditions for like a certain set time, usually a year, then they won't prosecute the case. It will stay off your record, right? So the first one they came to me with, and listen, you won't believe this though, this is like medieval stuff. They wanted me banned from the county. Okay, they didn't want me to come anywhere in the county. Now this county takes up.
It's possible to get out of Florida.
Yeah. This county takes up the whole panhandle, like from the coast up to the Alabama state line. So if anywhere going west in Florida, I wouldn't be allowed. Right. So they wanted me to do that. Right. They wanted me to write a apology letter, and they wanted me to.
Where did they get that idea?
Yeah, and they wanted me to, pay some fines, and then they wanted me not to get in any trouble, right? So I told them right off the bat, I said that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation.
Right. So and that was.
Yeah, do you know the name of my channel? It's Rogue Nation. It doesn't call Not Get in Trouble Nation.
Yeah. So they that was before the first court hearing, and then after we went to that court hearing, the prosecutor sent me another deferment, and this one said it didn't have the apology letter, because I told him there's no way in hell that's happening, and it didn't have one other thing, but I told him it had the only thing it had in there that I really had a complaint with was
where you couldn't get in trouble.
Yeah, where
right?
it said I couldn't get in trouble, and I told him, I said, look, I can't sign this. I said in the work that I do, I said it's almost guaranteed.
You're getting in trouble.
Yeah, it's almost guaranteed that I'm going to run across a cop that doesn't know the law, has got a huge ego, and is going to arrest me. I said, and even though I'll beat those charges, I said, that is still going to violate this order. So I said, I can't sign that in good faith. And literally, like the next day, they sent me another agreement where they said, okay, all you got to do is pay the fines, and you can't get in trouble in our county for 6 months. And I was like, oh, that's a sweetheart deal. And I called my lawyer, because we have a lawyer buddy, Vince. And I called my lawyer buddy and I told him what had happened. And he said, man, he said, you did a great job. He goes, it would have cost you $2,000 or $3,000 and a lawyer wouldn't have got you that good of a deal. And I was like, sweet, I'll take the deal. So I took the deal and I paid the fines. And as of the 18th of this month, 4 days ago, I'm good to go back and get in trouble now. So we'll be back up there this month.
Do it. Hey, can I say something?
Very true.
Sorry.
Heck yeah, man. Your people here, your subscribers, the people in the chat, awesome group of folks. That's why when they said, hey, good to see you back, it's like, I'm so glad to be back because they're so nice. Like,
well,
that's why I brought my friend. And he goes to troll channels and gets beaten up and he takes the blows. Like, he walks like that T-shirt, man. You know?
That's fantastic. Well, that's what, you know what, I'll tell you what. Why don't we want to play a game? I promised 2 games. And these, what? A game. Yes, a game. My wife says a game.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, let's see. I'll start with, well, I'll do my the best game here that I've got. What's that? Oh yeah, and shout out to Melanie. She runs this place. If people are late, she usually tells me, but we've been doing a great interview and I haven't called anyone tardy. I do have a thing for that.
I don't feel tardy.
Because a lot of people call us that, but when we're late. So, but no, let's play a game. And let me bring this up here. Okay, clickety click here. Oh, and I also have things that are questions for you too, Major Lee, and we'll go over that in a minute. So let's see. Let me get to my screen share. Click. There we go. Okay. And I didn't get the music ready, so I'll just deal with it. We'll just go through it. Okay. Is that Sharon? You see that? We good? Good on there?
Yep.
Okay. All right. For those of you playing along, I did this game. God, it's got to be, well, whenever this the current PSYOP that we're living in is going on. So a year or 2 ago. And so this one is called Bank Robber or Bank Customer. Okay? You feel confident there, Finn Rice Krispie? That you'll do well on this game?
No, not at all.
All right. Well, and Rogue, you know, law, so this should be easy for you. Okay, here we go. So the questions are: is that a bank robber or bank customer? I forgot my thinking time music, but just we'll pretend.
That's going to be a bank robber.
Okay, so we got bank robber from
Bank
Captain
Awesome.
Or Major Awesome, and what'd you say there? Christmas attacks.
Customer.
Okay, so we got one robber, one customer, and here we go. And that is 2 arrested and anchored. That is a robber. All right. So far, if we're keeping track, Major's got 1. Finn, nothing yet. And people in the chat, hopefully you all figure this out. All right, here's next. Robber or customer?
Customer.
All right, so we got customer.
Yeah, I'm going to say customer on that
All
guy.
right. We got 2 customers. What I did notice is this is in the days when they put arrows down. He's definitely walking the wrong way. So, he's trouble. Isn't that what they said? You don't get into trouble. He's already there. And, whoops. No, this is a robber. All right. Another robber. All right. So neither one of you got that. All right. Here we go. They get harder. What do we got here?
I want to tase him at this point. Is that the experiment? Because is he a robber also? I'm 0 for 3.
Well, you're questioning. You're supposed to say an answer. I'm the host. I can't give you the answer. He's got customer on the bottom there and Major Lee.
Yeah.
We got.
He's walking away. He's done with his transaction. He didn't rob the place. He's smooth.
All right. And Mr. Awesome or Major Awesome, excuse me.
I think I'm behind. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can't see it the screen looks like the same picture you had up there with the guy.
Yeah, are you lagging?
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, he's gone. Oh no! All right, here. How do we get out of this? Where is he? Oh yeah, he's gone. Oh no! Come back, Rogue Nation. He went rogue. Oh, what do we have?
That's very true.
Yeah. All right. We were just getting started on the first game. That's the warm-up game. All right. I know he'll be back. He'll be back. We'll all pray on it. I'll tell you what. Really quick, I can say hello while we're waiting here. Got like 100 people on YouTube. Shout out to y'all. Love you all. Over on Rockfin, it looks like, well, I'll keep saying it's stopped, but there's like at least 10 people over there. And thank you very much, Patrick, for the tip. That was very nice. And also, I would like to also thank Heather over on Rockfin. And then, of course, Melanie and DJ for everything you all do. As long as I'm doing it, Trevor, thank you for your articles. Same with Wayne and Butt Big Bear. I said that one right this time. Those are all people. I get presents and gifts and just like articles and things, or just emails of encouragement. So this audience is amazing. Like you said, Finn, they bring so much, and I feel so much love from everyone here.
Yeah, me too. They're so nice. Thank you all.
But okay. Well, let's see. Well, we can. I guess we can finish that one and wait for him to come back. We can do some other stories and stuff. So let me go back in here. Come back. Come back to us, bro. All right. Okay. So where were we? We were here. Okay. And you basically suck at this game, but that's okay.
I do, right?
Most people do.
I felt really dumb after that first, and I was like, "Yeah, that's totally a robber. What am I talking about?"
No, that's the whole idea behind this. And my next game, which is even the newest one, that's even better. It's even harder. Is that because of all the nonsense going on in the world, where everyone's afraid of breathing air now, you can't tell who's who, and it's the same with the cops. So here we go. So this guy, in case we're still wondering, no, another robber. So there, this game is difficult and might be rigged. We'll see. What do you got here? Bank robber, customer, Finn.
He's on the phone. So customer,
rogue. We have no idea. Hopefully he'll be back. And the answer is
bank robber.
Bank robber.
Okay. All right.
Next.
I'm gonna double down. Bank robber. She's a bank robber. So is the guy behind her, and everyone else.
She's actually a customer that the bank hit a panic button on because of her mask, because of the teeth.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a similar one from our dentist.
You have like a perfect record of the game so far. Let's keep going. All right. And this one's, what do you think here?
Robber. Jeez.
Now, what's interesting about this one, it was a video that went viral at the time. That's actually a customer, but so is this. And they arrested her because she refused to wear one of these. That was during those times. This is, 2021 March. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. So, all right. So the game. Whoops, that's Martin. Hey, Martin. I don't know where all at. What did we do here? Wrong. Okay. So yeah, that one was kind of. That's all right. He's back. So we can play the newer one with. Hey, you're back. Good to see you.
Yeah, I don't know. Something happened with my internet. It's storming pretty bad out here. So sorry about that.
No worries. We finished that one up, but I got an even better one to go with you. So, but I'll tell you what, while let me put this on, get this out of the way. I like to show people what I did on my farm, and there's some people, especially Melanie and Ryan, that need to see my cat. We got a new kitten, and they need to see if it's still alive. So real quick clip, and get some water, and I'll be right, and we'll continue on with a different game. Where's my clip? It is this one. Okay.
The ceiling fans? They're very attractive.
All right, so on our chicken coop, I have giant plastic trash cans, but when the feed gets so far down, it's really hard to get to. So with a little ingenuity and some scrap pieces, I'm going to put together, hopefully, like a scoop thing. I drilled a hole in this can, and then we'll see what we can do. Here we go.
Here we go.
All right, so I drilled this can through, and then I took this block of wood on it, and I measured where it was meeting, and then I make sure you take another block of wood, set this down, and then drill through it. Don't just do it right onto the, she'll never see that. I'll put a little putty in there. But yeah, so do that and drill through it, and then I'm going to attach this to the outside, and then probably put this longer piece, or that one maybe, as a stick handle, or whatever you call it. Okay, here we go.
Here we go, here we go, here we go.
All right, so the first one's split in half. The second one went flying. I still haven't found it. Here's the third one. It seems to work. So hopefully we can get it on the cam this time.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
All right, so we had to modify it on the fly. We went with 2 holes. I did 2 screws in here, so because it was splitting, but now it helps hold it together. And we're going to do 2 screws here and see if that won't not split, and then we'll have what we're looking for to scoop. All right, well, it worked. I need to obviously change some of the designs. I'll probably go with smaller screws, some different pieces of wood, because, you know, I'm getting a gap in here. But for right now, I think it'll solve the issue, so let's go try it out. I got a new scooper, ladies. What do you think? Everybody likes it, huh? Yeah? What do you think? I'm going to go check it out and see how it works. I'll let you know. So see, I've got these big trash containers, which are great because they, rats, mice, whatever, they can't get in here, even if they could get it in the pen. But see, when you get down to the bottom, it's really hard. But now with the new improved Super Scoop, so these are mullein leaf. This is the small plant. I got that from in front of the chicken coop, one dropped. So next year it'll be that super tall plant there with the yellow flowers. I can't wait. And like I said, they make good toilet paper according to the cowboys, and the Native Americans used to use them in their diapers to prevent diaper rash. But more importantly, it's got things to help with breathing issues.
Not a doctor.
And so, and even if, let's say you smoke, whatever you end up smoking, the natives used to smoke mullein afterwards because they said it cleansed the lungs. And so since it has that kind of properties, you can add it to the cigarettes or whatever you make. You can add mullein to it, or you can just smoke it after. And if you don't want to smoke it, you can dry it up and make it into a tea, or you can smudge it where you just light it and breathe it in like a sage.
I am not a medical doctor.
Well, if you know anything about me, you know I love to cook and I love my spices. But these things get kind of expensive, even from the box stores. And so what I end up doing is I make my own. And I'll show you how easy it is with my oregano that is just amazing. Smell that?
Smells like victory.
So this is my oregano patch. They basically, I'd almost classify them as a weed. I don't know if they are, but they're an edible weed. But I can't cut it fast enough, and they keep growing back. And so I've already cut it here. I'm going to finish cutting this, but as soon as I'm done, I'd say within less than a week, this will be shooting back up again. So this is the time to get as much oregano as I can and stock it up so I won't ever have to buy oregano because I got all the one God gave me. And then if you want, you can use this, and it's really good to use fresh in things. So this is a great time of year to make things with oregano. And it goes in just about anything. It's actually very good for you too.
I'm not a doctor.
So I can't do it with, I don't have a third hand.
Oh, hardly.
But basically I'll scoop these together, and then I've got a nice pair of shears, and then I'll cut that. Then I'll throw them together, put them on this cardboard, and eventually I'll spread these out and just let them dry in the sun, because when we have nice sun, it does it more efficiently than anything I can do in a dehydrator. Plus, it's it's way easier to do. Just throw it on the cardboard and walk away.
And just walk away.
All right, that's definitely enough for today. That's gonna all go to the chickens, and then we'll lay this out and dry it. Whew, it's getting hot out here.
Ooh, it's getting hot out here.
Hey ladies, look, I got treats for you. We call it pre-seasoning in our house, but it's oregano. Check it out. Woo! All right, everybody get some. Everybody get some.
Come on, let's get some.
So the key is to make sure that you spread them out so they're not too many on top of each other, because you don't want the moisture affecting the ones on the bottom. And so I would recommend, this might be a little much for this. I'll probably transfer some on another piece of cardboard. But just check it occasionally, and if you see that it's not drying as fast as you think, put it in a different area or rotate them a bit and stuff. So there's a lot you can do without really having to do much.
I quite like that.
So it's super easy to get the leaves off. You literally just hold it in your hand and pull, and they fall off. And then you end up with the stick or the vine, whatever you want to call it. Branch.
A branch.
So this is what it looks like when it's separated. So that's just going to be mostly all just leaves. These are the pieces, and again, this is going to go to the chickens. And so basically there's some stomping to do, some rolling to do, some grinding to do, but it's real therapeutic, and it smells delicious as you do it. So there you go. It's ground up nicely, and then I just put it into a new container. See, I've already got some for a couple of years, and I also give it out. And then we got fresh oregano. It's time for Ceiling Fan Man and Sarah, and kisses and tacos. Sarah, don't give them any information. They don't need your ID. Look, my audience requires something of you. You gotta move or something. I mean, this is silly. You've been here all day. Get up, do stuff. Nothing? Are you broken? Ow!
Satellite tracking continues.
All right. So that's it. That's my little videos that I put together. Sarah's still alive.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, thanks. I never know. It's just I film things throughout the day, and then I sit up here a day or two and throw things together and see what sticks, and hopefully get something I can run to the bathroom during a break. So, but yeah. What was I going to say? And Joe's in the chat. Shout out, I'll get a hold of you. He's a wonderful man too, him and his family. And I've just met some of the greatest people as of late. I feel there's a quickening going on in the world. And that's why we're all fighting each other, even though we all talk about different things. And like Finn and I talk, and even Joe, you all find me fascinating as your fun, crazy friend, but entertaining enough at least to have conversations. And that's why I like talking, because to the one auditors, at least the ones that I've been meeting, is because you're all open-minded. You know, you want to have a discussion. You're the ones always telling the cops, let's de-escalate this, rather than let's escalate to, all the cops. No offense, everyone can lose a little weight here and there probably, but to these cops nowadays, it's like there's no, it's like we're in the movie Police Academy. There's no what do you call it, physical education requirements anymore. Some of these cops are like 400 pounds. They only have two choices: tase you or shoot you.
Yeah,
right.
Requirements.
And then
But
they have.
Yeah, we're always seeking. We want to find out what's happening. We ask them. They don't tell us. That's the problem. We want transparency. We don't get it.
Yeah. We watched one guy, he was really obese, and he parked his car in a handicap, no parking, he was like split in it. I didn't even understand what he did. And just because that was the closest he'd get to the scene, because he didn't want to walk farther across the street and stuff. It's and then you have what we've talked about it before, Finn. You have lady cops that wear long fingernails and long hair, dread rolls and stuff. And I don't think that that's the person that's made for the job, at least in my eyes.
No, absolutely. We're heading out to Texas here next month, and we're hoping to speak at a city council meeting. And I don't need to tell anybody what city we're going to. It's already been on everybody's minds the last month. But and I'm hoping to speak in front of them, and I want to let them know, hey, we're tired of it. We're tired of the excuses. We're tired of getting these low rate bums to fill these positions. You know what I mean? Like the whole battle cry of these guys now is officer safety.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself that, if this is too much of a job for you, there's other occupations. Nobody's forcing these people to become police officers. But, if you are going to be a police officer, understand your role. And your role as a police officer is to insert yourself into danger so that the citizens don't have to. That's what we pay you for. That's the whole thing that, that we pay you for. Just like the soldiers. The soldiers don't go over to war to say, oh, soldier safety, I better get on a boat and go back home. You know what I mean? So that's part of the job is part of being the hero, just like the firemen. Nobody wants to die in a fire, but these guys are running into burning buildings because that's part of the job. They're not sitting outside the building saying, oh, fireman safety, we can't go in there. I want to make sure I make it home to my wife tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that fire could burn me. No, I'm not going. Yeah,
exactly.
And why are they yelling for that officer safety when, okay, I understand we're generalizing. I'm not talking about, there is danger in that job. I get it. But when you roll up on someone that they basically show you, I'm just out here recording, and they're the ones that have the guns, and not just a gun. They'll have like multiple clips. They have enough clips to take out like 50 people. In addition to that, a taser. What do you guys call them? Not handcuffs. They're torture devices. They can throw a dog on you. They got all this, and they're worried about safety. And you guys are like, you're afraid of a camera. You're in the wrong job.
Well, talking about generalizing, they're not in the danger positions all the time. Like they would like to have us believe there are 10 more jobs more dangerous than theirs, like graveyard shift at a convenience store or lumberjack. There's other jobs way more dangerous than that. Yeah. And what they do mostly is enforce revenue generating laws. Yeah. They pull people over for not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign or some shit like that. And that's the problem, is they're over enforcing that stuff, and the stuff that we would like to believe they're supposed to do, like storm in and save children. No, they're not there for that.
Yeah, that's been proven more than once. But it's interesting because I saw, like, for instance, Joe. I think his wife filmed a guy. It was a parking enforcement somebody that fell asleep in his car on duty. Our tax dollars are paying for it, and then just recently, because a lot of the at least the cops that you guys expose, they'll find a place to park and just sit there, wait there for their day to end and collect their paycheck and go home and maybe allegedly abuse things. But just recently, I think it was San Luis Obispo Zerber. He came across cops arresting a guy, and you guys have all seen it. They had two guys. Some were holding him down, I think 2 or 3, and then one cop decides to start elbowing him in the head into the ground. Wow. And he recorded it, and it went viral to where the mainstream news actually picked it up for a change. And so what did he get for that? Like days later, he's in the same kind of area, and you can watch on his video. It's fascinating. He was really irritated. It was one of those scenes where the road here. I'll do this. The road is hold on. So there was an arrow, and then there was like this. Okay. And so on one hand, you had this car had to go only right, and this car had this either can go straight because the road continued up this way, or he could make a left turn. And the cop was behind him because they were looking for him because they embarrassed him. He embarrassed them with this video that went viral, so they were gunning for him. So he was in that lane. He went straight, and the cop pulled him over. And so when he got pulled over, the cop said, "You failed to have your blinkers, your left turn signal on." And he's like, "I was going straight." And he says, "Doesn't matter. You're in this lane. You have to have it on." And he gave him a ticket for it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Listen, let me dissuade the myth from anybody. If a law enforcement officer wants to get you for something, you're absolutely going to get gotten. And there's multiple ways that they can do that. I've heard of
a 1-inch sticker they can get you, right?
well, yeah, but I mean, even more nefarious than that. I've heard of them going up to a car that they pulled over, and when the drivers rolled down the window, they tossed a crack rock on their floorboard. So I mean, make no mistake about it. When the time comes, if they want to get somebody, they're going to be gotten.
Well, they actually did that to a woman suffering of like stage 4 cancer, and they pulled her over when she was just off her shift at work. And this guy had his quote unquote working gloves, and in the Velcro of his gloves, he had the drugs that he planted on the floorboard of her driver's seat when she was just going home from hard days of work, and she was about to check out. Man, she never saw justice when he was finally arrested. And, well, I don't think he was arrested. He was fired from that, and he went on to another agency.
Yeah, that's what they do. They just trade him around.
But she died. She died being considered a criminal because he accused her of that, and the state agreed.
See that, but that's the other thing. They make us think that these things only happen on movies and TV where cops will plant a gun or whatever. But yet, I just told you in the town near here where that's what they were doing. The guns that were supposed to be destroyed ended up back on the street. Well, how'd that happen? So
that happens a lot. You know what the problem is that most people don't investigate anything that doesn't affect their lives. You know what I mean? That's a great guy. He's doing great work auditing Erie County. He's
new to me. I have to check him out. My wife probably knows.
Just got a sheriff to retire up there in New York.
I saw that one. That one.
Yeah, he's doing great work. He's a good guy too. But the issue is that, again, that these people don't interact with their public officials. They don't interact with police. So it comes to them as a shock that, this kind of stuff would go on or does go on, because the media tries to whitewash a lot of stuff. And then, people have their beliefs, of course, already, because, they have a family member that's law enforcement, or they know law enforcement, or even just, some of the core beliefs that the government taught us in school, which would a lot of time obey authority. So they don't really get what's going on. It's sort of like, I like to use the example of the lady that helped pass the 3 strikes law out in California. She helped pass this 3 strikes law, and then her son got 25 years for stealing a piece of pizza because it was his 3rd strike.
Oh my
And then
God.
she's like, well, I thought it was only going to be used for hardcore criminals, and it's a lot of people are out of touch with reality, because they live the American dream. And I call it the American dream, but as we all know, it's a nightmare. It's a pre-programmed life, setting. You wake up, you go to work, you come home from work,
Rat race.
you kiss your wife, you grab a beer, sit down in your lazy boy, you watch some Friends or Survivor or whatever the flavor that you enjoy
Or a
is.
cop show where they're the moral authority and we're the wicked masses.
Right. And then you go to bed
Propaganda.
and you repeat the process over and over and over again. And so, when people say to me, a lot of times, a lot of the backlash that I get is that I'm harassing these people, and these are just hardworking people, and why are you harassing hardworking people, and yada, yada, yada. That's a lot of what I get, because a lot of people don't deal with government. I mean, and people should be honest with themselves. They know this. If you're not paying a bill, if you're not pulling a permit, you're not going up to City Hall. Nobody's going up to City Hall to hang out. No one's going up there to shoot the shit. You know what I mean? No one's going up there to see what's going on. And as you interact with these people more and more, you realize that these guys, like Ben said, they just look at you like you're the scum of the earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're so much higher than you. I'm actually working on a video right now out of Tennessee, and it was in, you guys have heard the Battle of Athens, Tennessee. Have you guys heard that story?
No.
Okay, well, after World War II, some vets came home to Athens, Tennessee, and they found out that the government there was corrupt. So they took their guns, and they ended up overthrowing the government there in Athens, Tennessee. All right? And it's the only time in American history where the citizens have overthrown their local government. All right, and they did. They overthrew their local government there, and it's called the Battle of Athens, Tennessee. You can Google it; it'll tell you all about it. But this is actually in this town. So this gentleman sent me a video the other day from Athens, Tennessee, because it looks like the lessons of history have fallen on deaf ears there now. But there was a 4th of July event there in Athens, Tennessee, and the city closed the public.
Hey, slap the like button if you want to be safe during the revolution. Slap that like button.
Slap that like. But they closed the park down except for public employees. So, and I just sent off an email request to find out, who authorized it and who was paying for the event and all this other stuff. But, the guy that was walking around filming, whose video I got, he was telling him, he goes, look, man, he goes, people have been coming to this park for 20 years and watching the fireworks. And he said, and y'all just closed the park to everybody but public employees. He's like, there's families sitting out there trying to get in here, and you guys ain't letting them in. But I mean, you could walk through. He walked through, and you could see, all these public employees, because it's again just closed to them. They didn't have Athens, Tennessee shirts on or nothing. But and he was walking through and documenting it, and some of these were just some of the rudest people. They're like, oh, don't record our kids and blah blah blah. He's like, look, I'm just recording the event. I'm just recording what's going on here, which is the fact that they are only allowing public employees to this 4th of July event at this public park. So I mean, it's bad. It's, when you get right down to it, it's bad. And I always challenge people. I say, a lot of people say that we're assholes or we're instigators or
Asshole.
yeah, or we do something to get a reaction. And I challenge those people to try it themselves. Just take a camera, go up to your local municipality, walk in and see the reaction you get. And you're going to be surprised. You're going to be
Can
like,
I
man,
say the haters? We have so many hater channels that just review our videos and they hate on us, right?
Yeah.
But if, like I just said, asshole, there's a channel called My House is Dirty, all in one word. He does pranks where he like sprays people in the Home Depot garden area with the hose. He'll hold it on them and soak them for like a few seconds. Horrible. He crosses the line so many times. They don't have any troll channels. And that just amazes me. What is it that differs from them? And
I can tell you. Because I'm finding that in the group that I left
heroes
too.
And they want to kill the messenger.
It's if you're over the target, you're making someone uncomfortable, and it might not even be the troll. It's somebody else higher up that doesn't want your message out. I mean, in our community that I grew up in, there's shadow banning and all kinds of things. Like, no matter how popular my channel got or how popular I got on this show, the numbers are always the same. And yet I joined another group. It's called Rockfin. No one's ever heard of it. Hey, shout out to Rockfin peeps. Love you all. But it was a wrestling channel. And I went over there, and already within like 6 months, I have more people subscribed than I ever had in like 2 years of YouTube. It's obviously they fudge our numbers. And so the fact that you're getting troll channels that are doing nothing but taking your content, making no content, because none of them ever make content. They just, a lot of times they'll live stream it and they'll commentary on the side. That's the troll to me. And so it's, I don't know, it's either an agenda or it's a jealousy or both or whatever it is. It just tells you that you're ruffling feathers, and definitely you and Rogue, that's what you like doing. I mean, so.
Well, you know what it is? It's psychological. And what it is that we are questioning the narrative. We're questioning the dream. Okay. And a lot of people are fully invested in the dream. Okay. So if we tell people that the currency is a fiat usury based currency and it's set up to collapse, there's no other outcome other than collapse of the currency. Mathematically impossible, anything but collapse. This affects their life. You know what I mean? Because they're thinking, oh, I'm going to retire in 40 years. I'll have a pension and stuff like that. And I tell people, I said, no, it's not going to be that way. You know what I mean? And that affects their life. You know what I mean? And they can't get around that. You know what I mean? If I can't retire in 30 years with a pension and Social Security, what am I going to do? So you're directly challenging them and their beliefs. We challenge their beliefs a lot of times. And for those that I've also studied psychology. I've studied quite a few things, but if you studied psychology, you know what's known as the backfire effect. And what happens is when you challenge somebody's beliefs in your brain, that spark is the same as if you had walked up and slapped them. And it's called the backfire effect. So when I'm challenging someone's beliefs, I could tell them something that's the truth, and they will believe their lie even more after they've heard me tell them the truth. And it's a really strange phenomenon. But I mean, part of the problem of all of this is that people were never taught how to use their mind, and they try to say psychology is a soft science. They try to distract us away from it by calling them shrinks and quacks and trying to say, well, that's not really a set science, but it is a set science. It's been known for thousands of years.
I'm sorry. I know I'm interrupting. I do that a lot, but look at this because it connects exactly what you're saying. That's because you and I, we talk about very similar ideas because this article just came out. So here you go. Here's your exact science. They just came out July 21st. Depression is likely not caused by chemical imbalance in the brain. Well, they've been treating people with drugs for that for decades. Now suddenly they're admitting that it doesn't do what they think. So science doesn't even know what they're doing. That's why it's called practicing medicine.
Right, exactly. And you know, one of my first forays in the psychology was, because once you wake up to what's
Who's
going
that?
on around you.
Sigmund Freud's nephew.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that here in a second. But yeah, once you wake up to what's going on around you and you can start seeing things more clearly, you have questions that need answered. And one of my questions that needed answered was, how does a country full of hardworking immigrants that passed shoes down from, the oldest brother to the 15th child, you know what I mean, and just resold them, how do people like that saved everything they could, how did we become a nation of people that needed a 10-bedroom house and a 5-car garage to fit all this useless shit in that we don't need? And then we still need storage units. I said, how did we become that? Because that shit doesn't happen. You know what I mean? You don't take a hardworking guy and that scrimps and saves everything. And because where we get a lot of our beliefs from are our parents. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? In the first 5 years, your attitude, it's not attitude, I can't think of the word right now, but you're pretty much set by 5 years old. You know what I mean? As far as how you interact. And people that see that, that's how they become like that. If you have a good work ethic, chances are your parents had a good work ethic. You know what I mean? If you're a lazy bum, chances are your father or your mother was a lazy bum. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way it is. We learn from the people closest to us. And so
what did you say about my mama?
Yeah, my mama. So how did we move from this to this? And what Finn said's right. I ran across a gentleman named Edward Bernays, who was Sigmund Freud's nephew. And Edward Bernays took what Sigmund Freud had told him about our subconscious desires, and he used that to make us into consumers. And there's a beautiful documentary on it, and it's called Century of the Self. And it's free on YouTube. It's very long. There's 4 parts to it. Each part is 2 hours long. But I guarantee you within the first 15 minutes, you'll not want to watch anything else once you see what this man was able to do to the masses. Because when we talk about brainwashing, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, yeah, I'm a pretty smart guy. There's no way that you could brainwash me. Edward Bernays was so high that he didn't brainwash one person. He brainwashed 10 million at a time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, he didn't brainwash you. No, he brainwashed you and everybody in your whole state. That's what he did at the same time.
The difference is that everybody as an individual, you might be a very intelligent person. And it might be very difficult to handle you and control you as an individual if we had you alone. But since there's so many of you, we know how all of you will act. And we control that. Is how they think.
Some people
not me.
Yeah, some people in the chat, Tom and Big Butt Bear, know exactly what I'm talking about. Torches of Freedom. Because that was a slogan of Edward Bernays. That's the torches of freedom is what got women to smoke in public. Because before that event happened, it was a taboo for women to smoke in public. And the cigarette companies went to Bernays and they were like, hey, we're losing half of our client. There's 50% women. How do we get these women to smoke? And he came up with an ideal and a slogan, Torches of Freedom. And from that moment on, women smoking skyrocketed.
And that's not the only time they did that. You can look into we talk about the same things. It's so fascinating that I have not talked to any auditors. I'm really thrilled that you guys are all enjoying and taking the time with me. I'll have any one of you back anytime. But the fluoride, look into that. That was a byproduct of, I think, the aluminum companies, and they didn't know what to do with all this toxic waste. So they come up with a campaign. 4 out of 5 dentists say you should brush your teeth with it. And everyone's like, well, yeah, that guy's wearing a white coat. I've talked about that. You guys talk about police officers and you call them costumes. It's the same thing with scientists and doctors. They wear a white coat, and they always have a guy on TV. What's that?
I said absolutely. I mean, when you look at it, Rockefeller was the AMA, just like he was the GEB. Not many people realize that Rockefeller started public school, and they don't realize that he was instrumental in starting the American Medical Association, and he was very instrumental. And I forget the guy's name, but he had this gentleman go around the country and do a report on medical schools, and the gentleman's reports on medical schools only backed the pharmaceutical-based schools and not the homeopathic schools. And that's pretty much where the AMA got its start, and pharmaceuticals companies started to take over the medical profession instead of homeopathic.
And they also control
our cameras versus their cameras. Our cameras go to show you on YouTube what they're doing with our tax dollars. Their cameras are being sold to metadata brokers to find out how much everybody in your family weighs, to find out what kind of Merck and Pfizer and GlaxoSmithKline opioid epidemic causing thing they can bribe your doctor to push on you. That's what they're doing with their camera.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about modern medicine, they have two things that they'll give you, and only two things: pills or the knife. That's their answer to everything. You either take pills or you go under the knife.
Well,
I'm glad my wife is actually a different kind of doctor, where she believes in avoiding surgery and lengthen and strengthen your muscles and recover from whatever trauma that your bones and muscles have caused you to have, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a last resort.
Let me pull this up real quick. And again, see, this is where I have to dance around. I'll talk about things, or I'll show things like this. I won't necessarily discuss it other than saying, when did this happen? And I found my records. I talked to my mom and I said, hey, would you let them put any mystery liquid into me when I was a little baby? And she's like, oh, absolutely not. I said, okay, well, I'm looking at my records here. I've shown it before. I got DBT, polio, smallpox shots, and then the fourth one says others. It doesn't even tell her what it is, what it was for, how many I got. And that was back, I'm an old codger. I'm, in the 60s, 66 I was born. And so now look what they get. In 2019,
a case of polio just popped up in New York.
This is the list. And you can look this up, fact check me whoever wants, timestamp it, look for it. They have not ever cured anything in the history of medicine. We've eradicated things to where it's almost gone, and just in poor countries, they tell us. But we've never cured anything. And to add to that, there's this beautiful way. This guy put it perfectly. And so you've got nothing for HIV after 40 years of research, nothing for cancer after 100 years, nothing for the common cold. And yet now suddenly we have, in 12 months, 4 different companies within a week. They all come up with it. And they also know the new wave, the next one that's coming on, because my wife, being a nurse for over 30 years, she taught me that they mix up their chemical juice and they figure out what they think the next one's going to be, and they don't know. So they even admit it's a mystery thing that they give you. They don't even know if it's going to help. And so the people that want to take it, that think they're helping, it might not even do what they think it's doing. And so we went away from where I grew up, where eating well and sunshine and exercise and all that. No, modern medical science now is this. You go outside and you garden, and you've now just increased your risk of heart disease from gardening.
Wow.
I can't believe that. That's amazing. Are you sure that's not satire?
Here's the thing. For a while when I got into this, I thought everything was the Onion, the fake news. No, these are actual articles and quote real magazines and newspapers, but they all owned by, we're talking about how the Rothschilds or whoever owned all the stuff that we were just talking about. They also own all of the books and newspapers and TV. It's all one giant conglomeration. And if you look at the school books now, God forbid people have to send their children to school. There's one company basically that now makes all the books for all the schools across the U.S. So now they can change history whatever they want.
Yep.
And we're in a clown show where people, rather than saying, something's been going on for the last 2 years that we've never done before, and a lot of young and people are dying mysteriously of heart attacks. In fact, they now have a new thing. They call it, they had SIDS, which was sudden infant death. Now they have, was it AIDS? No, I don't know, but it's adult instant death or something that they don't understand. And rather than look at maybe what's been going on for the last 2 years, we're going to say it's this, or, well, I don't have a scary space news, people, but look, there's this one. Solar storms are now saying that's what's causing all these heart attacks in young people. I mean, we're in that movie Idiocracy where they just say whatever they want. It's like 10-year-olds write these things.
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of times, because, before I got into any of this stuff, I started with conspiracy theories. Before I got into law and psychology, I studied economics. But before I got into any of that stuff, I got into conspiracy theories. And what I found was that people get triggered when they hear the word conspiracy. And
that was made by the CIA to throw it on us to make us sound crazy.
Well, you're right, but it's also what's known in psychology as a trigger word. All right, so what will happen is let's say you're at the bar and you're talking with a couple of buddies and you bring something up, maybe let's say the Kennedy assassination. Okay. And then one of the other guys goes, "Oh man, that's just a conspiracy." As soon as that word hits everyone's ears, everything else is discredited. You know what I mean? You look like a fool, like a madman. There's no after that word is spoken, there's no intelligent discourse to be had. All right. And what it's called psychologically is a trigger word. And like you said, the CIA came up with it, but people don't understand that conspiracies happen every day. If you look at the federal government's list of court cases every day, about 3/4 of them are conspiracy cases, right? The most famous conspiracy ever was the American Revolution. By definition, the American Revolution was a conspiracy. It was a conspiracy of our forefounders to overthrow the legal rule of the king, okay, which is the definition of a conspiracy. A secret plan to overthrow law and order, okay, which was the king at the time. And which is why a lot of people didn't end up fighting in the American Revolution, because back then they were like, "Oh man, that's just a conspiracy. You guys are just farmers. How are you going to take on the greatest army in the world?" So, they use it against people, and it's kind of why I got out of talking about conspiracies, because unless you're talking with someone that's done, even a little bit of research, then you're talking to a brick wall,
Yeah. Because I take it a step farther now. Pull back the curtain and find that there is no wizard. I believe, as I've talked a little bit with Finn, that they all work together. And so when you're talking about a situation where, let's see, where we, well, like we were out here. Here's an article that just showed up because all the news they push a specific agenda, and if you're not part of that, you won't get heard. Like even your group, I'm sure, way more shadow banned than what you'd see on which one am I looking for? Where is it? It's this one. But see, it's all about propaganda. We used to laugh and say, "Oh, those people in North Korea and stuff, they all have propaganda and stuff." But then what is it? The Smith-Munn Act, which basically straight up said, "Yeah, we can lie to you. We've been doing it, but now we just made a law saying we're going to do it." But this just happened. We all know who she is, and she was at some protest, and you can see. So like she's walking with these cops, like doesn't that the hold of a cop if you're arrested? I would think I've seen it enough.
Yeah.
But actuality, it's just a photo op. Because see here, she's got her arm up and waving. So she's not arrested. She's not in handcuffs. And there you go. Multiple members of Congress being arrested. See? It was just for the photo op. And so they rewrite history right in front of our eyes. And so like we've gone over the thing that they're discussing. I don't even go into it. It's so ridiculous what went on in the
whether they put cuffs on them or not, they were arrested. They arrested their movement. So technically,
yeah, I hear what you're saying, but the article is blown out because you know how people read news. They look at the picture, they read the headline, and they move on, right? They'll never read what happened there. And so I use that
saw
as an
her
example.
putting her hands behind her back, and you're right. I'll recognize a phony baloney with a pony named Tony any day. AOC.
Well, but my point on it is like I've played it before where the thing that happened in the Capitol where they said they stormed the castle like you were discussing in that the Battle of Athens, Tennessee. No, they show them where, first of all, the cops move the gates aside and allow them in, and then everyone stays single file behind the ropes on either side. But when you look at the history books that say the Rothschilds are going to write, they're going to show you a picture of like some guy in horns going, and that kind of thing. And you can prove they're doing it right now. I've talked about this before with Paul Revere. Real quick, Major Lee, just quickly, what do you remember of Paul Revere they grew up telling you in school? Just a quick synopsis.
That he rode through the town and said the British are coming, and supposedly there was him and another writer.
Okay,
I can't remember the other writer's name.
So here's the thing. This is either one of the things I talk about, which sometimes Mandela effect you've heard. We'll go over that in a second. Or it's just a proof that they rewrite it. If you were to look it up now Paul Revere never made it to the midnight ride. He got captured. He got interrogated and gave up a lot of the positions. So he was really bad for our side. And they took his horse. And by the time he got out of there and he escaped, he walked into town. He didn't even have a horse. That's what's in history right now. And then they take down all the statues. So they're rewriting it. I mean,
I mean, that's, the book 1984 is actually a diagram for what it is. And the Ministry of Truth is basically what we've got now. Now, the reason they all, seem like they're in cahoots is because they are actually all in cahoots.
Right.
And if you look up the membership roster for the Council on Foreign Relations, which is a think tank out of DC and New York City, you'll see that the membership roster is all the players in public relations, all the players in media, all the politicians.
Michelle Obama.
Yeah, right and left. It doesn't matter. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the CFR. It was created back in 1913 by a guy named Colonel House. Colonel House was an advisor to Woodrow Wilson. Colonel House was also at Jekyll Island when they came up with the Income Tax Act. So Colonel House started this organization, the Council on Foreign Relations. Now their goals are for borderless countries. They don't want no borders. They want one world. All right. In 1978, and this is all, you can check it all out. They're not, and this is the thing that really kills me. They don't hide any of it. You just got to know where to look. They'll openly tell you that this is exactly what they want. So in 1978, Assistant Secretary of State Richard Gardner wrote a report for their magazine, which is called Foreign Affairs. And that article was titled "The Hard Road to World Order." And again, you can look it up online. You can still read it today. All right. You got to have a membership, obviously, to the magazine, but you can still read it today. And it's called The Hard Road to World Order. And in there, he stated that American citizens would not give up their rights due to a frontal attack, that they're going to have to circumvent, and they're going to be able to circumvent by doing three things that weren't heard of back then, but you'll recognize them today: economic chaos, terrorism, and climate change or global warming. And he said those three things will help you circumvent Americans' rights, and will have them begging you to take their rights in order to protect them. And that's what you saw. You see 9/11. You see economic chaos with the market collapse in 2008. And you see them talking.
It's not creeping up on us. It's here.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
and that's partly why what happened with me. I came to these same realizations in different ways, but yeah. And so what I saw happening was, that our rights. For instance, there's a famous quote by he looks like the villain from Austin Powers, that Klaus Van Schwab or whatever. Yeah, and some war criminal, most likely, allegedly. But he says that line: "You in the future, basically, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy." Well, when you look at the things that I go over, and the theories that we discuss. So take, for instance, your house. You don't actually own it. You can pay it off, but if you stop paying your property taxes, they can take it. So you don't own it. Your car. You buy your car, you fill out the registration, they own the car, and they give you a copy. If something happens in the law and you get into trouble, as Rogue does, they could take that. So you don't own that either. Now let's go to your children. You get your baby, you have the hospital, they say fill out this birth certificate registration, not Social Security, that's a different number. To me, guess what? If you look at the debt clock, right now, every child born right now is at least $500,000 in debt. And so they give you a Social Security card. I believe that's your receipt. And they say get to work until you're 65. And if you're lucky, you can have a retirement. And so what do? You fill out a separate thing, the birth certificate, which has a different registry number, wondering where that registry goes to. And now you've signed away your child's rights. Because if they deem you unfit, or let's say you don't send your child to the indoctrination camp, I mean public school, then they can take your child. You don't even own your own child. So we're already there. None of us own anything, and we're happy.
It's interesting that you brought up all those topics, because all those topics are exactly why partly the reason why I started studying law was to find answers to those questions, like, is my house my property? Is my car my property? How can CPS take my child? And stuff like that. And I found the answers to a lot of those. And I'll tell you, with the land issue, back in the day, we were issued what was called a land grant or a land patent, by the king. Right. And those allowed you to own your property free and clear. Okay. And you owned everything below ground you owned, and everything up to the sky you owned, so like in some places, if you catch rainwater, you get in trouble. But when you own your own
that
property,
happens in Washington State.
right. So But
Colorado.
when you actually own your own property, you don't get. There's no way you could get in trouble. I've actually got a case that's on the Supreme Court website where a gentleman's property was what they call allodial. He had a allodial title, and he had that property in a trust that his father had left him, and his ex-wife and him were in a divorce, and she wanted to get that property, and the judge says, no, this is allodial land. Nobody can touch this land, not even the government. All right. And that's what it was to truly own your land. So now, and you'll notice too, when you read the statutes and stuff, that one of the things you won't find in there is private property. All right. So if you're reading through the statutes, you'll see real estate, you'll see real property, but you won't see private property. All right.
Unless it's Native American.
Right. Unless it's like a Native American reservation, which they own, the land there. But there's other instances of that. But and so basically, none of this is private. Another thing that set me off on that was in the Constitution, it said no private property shall be taken without just compensation. And the Supreme Court has said just compensation is fair market value. So I'm thinking to myself, I read a story where a gentleman had his house taken for $500 in back taxes. Okay. And when he went to go try to pay it off, the $500, it had grown to $5,000 with fines and fees and all this other stuff. They ended up taking this gentleman's house. It was a $190,000 home that he had paid off, right? And I know people are going to say, well, they sold it at auction. They took the $5,000 and they gave him whatever was left. That doesn't always happen. And there was a case in Michigan last year where the county wanted to keep all the money from the sale of this guy's house, and it had made it all the way up to the state Supreme Court. And I kind of lost track of what happened to it after that. I got busy, but basically nobody owns their property. Okay. Even if you paid off your property, if you go look at your deed, if you go to your safe or your safety deposit box and you pull out your deed and you look underneath your name, you won't see the word owner. You'll see the word tenant. Okay? Not even lying to you. Okay. Yeah. And here's some other stuff people don't think about in the housing game. Okay. Because when we go in to buy a house, we go into the bank, they sit down an inch thick, bundle of paper, and you're supposed to go through it all and know what's going on, or you hire a lawyer because supposedly he's looking out for your interest. I can tell you that doesn't happen. All right. But you go through this inch thick of paper and you fill it out or whatever, but nobody understands the mortgage process. Okay. And here's how we know this. Okay. Because when you sign the mortgage and then the deed, the loan repayment, the promissory note, what happens is if you don't pay, they can take your home and sell it. Okay. But they need your permission to do that on that paperwork. If you look at that paperwork, and you'll notice the words lawfully seized, okay, on that paperwork. Okay. And the lawfully seized comes from an old tradition called law of season. Okay. And so what happened was, before we had mortgages in this world and all that, the way a person would convey land is, okay, so me and Ceiling Fan Man, he's going to sell me a piece of property. So what we would do is we would go into the town, we'd get a couple of witnesses. Ceiling Fan Man, we'd be on his property. He would grab a handful of dirt and he would transfer that dirt into my hand. And that was called law of season. That signified the transfer of ownership of that land from him to me. Okay.
That kind of transaction actually almost goes all the way back to the Bible, what you're describing. But go ahead.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So now on that paperwork, it says we're lawfully seized. Okay. Because we give them the right, and it'll say right there that we're giving them the right to take the property and sell it. But how do we have the right to give away property that we don't own? Okay?
Yeah.
That's what we have to think about. Okay? So at that moment that we sign those documents, the house is actually ours. We actually own it. Even if the bank...
Hey, stop. I'm a realtor. You're going to kill my career right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into it too deep because listen, it's vast. It's so vast. But that's just one aspect, okay? But let's move to the vehicle. Let's move to the car. Okay, you just bought a vet, okay? You went to the dealership. You put down, let's say that's what, $70,000. Let's say you drop $30,000 on a down payment on that new vet out there. Okay, you're sitting in the guy's office. He says, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. We're going to fill out this paperwork. I'm going to send it to the state. I'll give you this little paper tag here. You slap that on the back, and in a week you're going to get your tag in the mail. All right. And what happens in this process, okay, now this deals with title law, all right? So when the cars roll off the production line and they get put on a semi-truck, you know, a tractor trailer to go from Detroit to Florida, how does the police, if they pull that truck over, how do they know that that driver is driving lawful vehicles, that he's not driving stolen vehicles? Because when it comes off the line before it gets to the dealership, there's no registration, there's no certificate of title, right? So what is the ownership document that goes with that vehicle from the manufacturer to the dealership? And when you look at it, you'll find out that it's called the MCO or sometimes the MSO. And those stand for Manufacturer Certificate of Origin and Manufacturer Statement of Origin. All right. And so what happens is, in law, you can read it in your motor vehicle statutes. When you buy a new car, you're required to give that title to the state. All right. In the state of Florida, it's mandatory that they keep that title for at least 10 years. Okay. So in title law, okay, when you have title to an object and you give that title to somebody else, it's because they have what's known as a security interest in that item. Okay. So think about.
So who finally owns your car at this point?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll break it all down, but we got to go step by step, right? But okay, so you guys know about how title loans work at like pawn shops, right? You go in there, you want to pawn your title to your car, right? You got to give them the title to hold,
right?
And you can still drive the vehicle, right? It's because they have what's known as a security interest in that item. That's why you have to give them not the title, but the certificate of title, right? They get to hold that. So what happens is they send this title into the state, okay? Now, in title law, only the original title matters. No duplicates, no copies, nothing. If you don't have that original title, you don't got shit, all right? So what the state does, they're real crafty about it. They get you to send in the title to them, okay? Once they get the title, they split it, okay? Because when they've got a security interest, they'll split it. Now, as I described both titles, okay, you can decide which one that you own, okay? Everybody's heard possession is 9/10 of the law, right?
Correct.
Have you heard that? Do you know what the 1/10 is?
No, but it's probably that one doctor, the 405 dentist. But what is it?
It's what's called legal title, right? So once the state has that title, they'll microfilm it and they'll destroy the original, okay? So you can never get that original back, okay? Now, it splits the title in two in title law. You have equitable title and you have legal title. The person with equitable title gets the use, the possession, And if you sell the item, you get over and above whatever you owe on that item. That's what equitable title is. Legal title means that you get to make all the rules for the item. Okay? So you get to say, oh, you need to get your brake lights fixed. Oh, you need to get your headlight fixed. Oh, you got to wear a seatbelt while you drive this item. You get to make the rules for the item. Now, which title do you think you own? Equitable?
Obviously not that one.
Right. You got equitable title. Now, let me tell you this. In law, an automobile and a motor vehicle are different. Okay?
Correct. That I know. From watching you all, I know that. You can,
Right. Well, an automobile in law is a pleasure vehicle. It's a family vehicle, gets you from point A to point B. It's also known in the Uniform Commercial Code as a household item. Okay? And you'll find a lot of rich people that have their estates in probate. They'll include their vehicles as a household good. All right? An automobile. Now, if you look in the motor vehicle code, the one word that you won't see in the motor vehicle code is the word automobile. Okay? You won't find the word automobile anywhere in the motor vehicle code. Okay?
Interesting.
You'll find passenger vehicle. You'll find for hire vehicle, commercial vehicle, all kinds of other stuff. But you won't find the word automobile in the motor vehicle code. And the reason for that is because they cannot regulate an automobile because it's private property. Okay? But a motor vehicle is not private property. Okay?
Commercial, right?
It is commercial, exactly. But when you split a title, it's no longer private. Okay? Think about it this way. If there was a title to your computer, you know what I mean? And you gave it away. Okay, so for example, a cop can't regulate or the state can't regulate my computer. It can't regulate my TV. I own these 100%, right? I have the title to that because the title for items like these are the bill of sale, which is the receipt. Okay, so if my keyboard on my computer is messed up, the state can't fine me for having my M key missing off my keyboard. You know what I mean? The state can't fine me if I lost my remote control to my big screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they can fine you if your brake light's out or if your tail light's out. Okay? So when we look around and we see that these guys can tell us what to do with an item like our house or our car, it's because we do not fully own these items, okay? Because one of the rights that we have is the right to exclude, okay? Just like the right of association, or the right to assemble, I guess you could say. That we have something called the right of association, meaning that we have the right to associate with whoever we want. The opposite of that is we have the right to exclude anybody that we want. Okay, so if I don't like you, I don't have to, talk to you. I don't have to be your friend. I don't have to see you. You know what I mean? That's one of our rights. Now, when it comes to like land, for example, people say, "Oh, you got private property." They put up signs that say private property. The only thing that works for is against other citizens. Okay, because the state has many exemptions when it comes to coming onto your property. And they don't even, this could all be fabricated, but a cop could roll up to your house and be like, I saw a suspect running through your backyard. So now this cop's running through your backyard and it's totally legal because he said he saw a suspect going through your backyard. Yeah. You know what I mean? So the only time private property actually works is if it's against another citizen. I mean, the Fish and Wildlife Commission, they'll come right on your back porch, go pawing through your freezer any damn time they want, and that's legal, baby.
That's nuts. Yeah. Well, because that we really do talk about very similar things. It's interesting because that's how I feel that there's such a huge gap in what people think that where they live and where they actually live. And I'm not just talking about like, are we flying through space? I'm talking about, you live in America where we have these freedoms and these rights, and yet they can take any of them away if they want. I mean, I can go into the whole discussion of did we actually break away from England? Because what I believe happened is that was just once again another just a theater to where if we did break away, why did we still wear their stupid hats and hair? What do you call it? Wigs? And why do we put Admiralty? Fringe in all of our flags? And why do we use all their symbols and their language? We took so much, and we're still using it. I think it's a magician.
District of Columbia. Why is it called that?
Well, and that goes in with what I talk about. There's 3 separate entities in this world that we call ourselves. One is District of Columbia, where they have a gigantic. We can look up Osiris, but Osiris penis. That Washington Monument is exactly 555 feet above ground and 111 feet below ground, which equals 666 feet. But that's a whole other subject. And there's another one in the Vatican, and it's its own country. It's separate from Rome, has one of those Osiris penises in it. And the third one is in London, separate district, not associated with anything else. And it has one too. Just a mere coincidence. But yeah, what I told Finn was there's a meme that said you can't lock down the entire world without having all the countries in line. And so it goes beyond, is it this country versus that country? Yeah, they make us fight each other, but there's puppet masters above all of it. And they just literally throw in whatever dictator they want. And if you didn't like this one, we'll throw in that one. Oh, you didn't like the orange man? Well, we'll throw in this other man, or we'll throw in this woman. Or you like the Democrats? Okay, well, now we'll throw in the Republicans. You wanted the good cop, now we get the bad cop. That's all it is. It's left wing, right wing, same bird of prey. The feast on us, as we've all talked about just tonight. It's the elite versus the peasants, and so they write the laws, and we pay them money. And if they want more money, they just write new salaries for themselves. I've encouraged everyone to start, even if you don't want to do the auditing, and go online and look up what your local government people are making. To literally do nothing. You watch these auditors, they roll up on them. Finn caught an entire group. They were making gingerbread houses on overtime pay from our tax dollars. And so they do this stuff all the time. What's that?
Major Lee Awesome was there.
Oh, you were? Of course you were.
Yeah, it was me and Rights. But there was a question here in the comment section by Chrissa M that said, is it true that if you're not registered and have no license, can you really legally drive with no tags and license? So I want to answer that because, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. And the reason there's a lot of misinformation is, one, a lot of people are intellectually lazy. They don't understand how their mind works, so they do what's known as confirmation bias. So they'll see something that agrees with what they already believe, and they'll accept that as truth, and they'll pass that on, right? Also, the government puts out disinformation specifically to confuse people, all right? So as far as the right to travel, in order to enjoy that, you would have to buy the vehicle outright in cash, okay? You would have to get that title, the MSO and the MCO. You would have to get that. That would be full title, okay? You could not then turn that into the state, okay? You would have to hold on to that, because once you turn that into the state, again, you switch your automobile to a motor vehicle, it can never be switched back. Okay, you can never drive or travel in a motor vehicle. Okay, or excuse me, you can never travel in a motor vehicle. You can only drive a motor vehicle. Okay, and that's regulated activity. Okay, they were licensing drivers before cars were invented. Okay, they used to license hackney drivers in DC, New Orleans, London. A hackney driver was a horse and carriage for hire. That was a hackney driver. And those gentlemen were licensed 50 years before cars were invented. So drivers have always been commercial. Okay. And when you think of the word driver, what you normally think of is taxi driver, cab driver, chauffeur driver. Those are the words that were associated with that, which are all commercial terms. Now, you can, if you have the money, buy the car outright, get the title. You don't have to get insurance. There's something called bonding. Okay, and you can look it up. You can do it now, even with your motor vehicle. You can get it bonded. Okay, all that does is it protects the person that you hit. It doesn't protect you. Okay, and it's called bonding, and you can get that now. And you wouldn't need a license, because you only need a license to drive motor vehicles. You don't need a license to travel in your automobile. Now, here's where the problem comes in at. Nobody understands that. Okay? Nobody understands that. So, what you would have is you would have yourself getting pulled over and impounded almost daily. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody understands that. The police, they're not going to understand that. You know what I mean?
No.
You can give them all kinds of paperwork and all this. You know, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh yeah, you know, we won the case," or something like that. But 9 times out of 10, it was because the cop didn't want to mess with them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just different stuff like that. There's never been a person that has done what I'm talking about and gone to court and videotaped their, the judge saying, "Oh man, you know what? You're right. You know, this is what the law says." And the reason that is because, again, most people believe what they already want to believe. And they believe that they can just be like, "Oh, I'll just throw away my tags and my license and slap this cardboard on here that says I'm a free man, and I'll drive down the road." And that shit doesn't work.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, good luck to you.
It's the same thing like when you're finding out in your audits. You're within your rights to film these different places, but push comes to shove, they have the authority, the badges, the guns, whatever, the torture devices to put on your hands, throw in your back of a car, and then take you to jail, throw you in lockup. And yeah, maybe you're right, and you'll prove it in court, but now you're out how many days that you're gone, plus work you've missed, and the fines and all that, and lawyer fees. Yeah.
This guy went through all that. This guy, Philip Turner in Texas, made case law in Texas, Turner versus Driver, where he made it, a clear affirmation of our right to record the police. Well, somebody went to a police station in, what was it, Rockland, Rogue Nation, Texas?
Yeah, I think
and
it was in Rockland.
In the parking lot, they had some phony signs up saying you're not allowed to record the police vehicles out here in the parking lot that were like right off of the street. Like, it's not even in a secured parking lot. It's just the parking spots were right there, right where the edge of the road was. So this guy got arrested there. Then Philip Turner himself went there. And the cop showed up and he gave him his card. He's like, "You guys sure you want to do this? Look, that's my card. This is my case law." I'm like, shut up, put your hands behind your back.
Yeah, I mean, so it doesn't matter because, again, they're not going to listen. I mean, the people that have been labeled the sovereign citizens have a lot of good research. But there's also a lot of bad research in there as well. Like I said, a lot of disinformation to keep people guessing, to keep people, getting into trouble, going to jail. I mean, it's really kind of crafty when you think about it, because a lot of these people, these sovereign citizens, they'll tell you that you got to, authenticate your birth certificate, or you got to send this paperwork into the Secretary of State of Minnesota and all this other stuff. But what you're really doing is you're sending in a signal to the government that you're a free thinker, that you have an open mind, that you realize something is wrong. Okay. The only thing that people like that are doing is putting themselves on a list to be watched. All
Well,
right.
Southeastern PA, that dude, Southeastern PA, Dan?
Yep.
He emancipated himself, I guess, if you would call it that, where we're all, our social security number, right? How you said that's different from the birth certificate.
Right.
We're all treated as a commodity of the
correct.
United States. What we can produce is
We
what
are
our
the
people.
debt. We're the payment of the debt. Yes.
Right. We're the collateral on the debt. Yeah.
So he actually got that money back and donated it to charity. I have a man crush on him.
Well, the thing is there's exceptions. Like someone even mentioned that, who was it? I think it was Salted Cedar. So Paul Enslaved showed he did it. So, yeah, you could find that. But how many times maybe Paul Enslaved could try it and he's not going to come out with that outcome? It just takes one cop that doesn't want to buy into that. Sovereign citizen. That's another thing that they make. Whoever's doing CIA, whatever you want to call it, they take these labels and they slap them on people. And now they show you TVs and movies just like they do with all the things I talk about. And who's the crazy person every time? The sovereign citizens, the guy that goes nuts and stuff and does Waco, Texas and all that stuff, right? And so it's just another label to make us seem like the criminal. But don't worry, all the TV shows show you that, the cops are there to save you.
Well,
they vilify us.
Yeah, well, it's another trigger word, just like conspiracy or conspiracy theorist, sovereign citizen conspiracy theorist. As soon as somebody hears those words, all intellectual discussion is stopped. And again, this is, part of the reason, because how I got into law was I came across something that was talking about the all capital letter name on the ID. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I started researching law because I was trying to find out what the real information was. And the more I dug, the more I saw that there was a lot of disinformation. I did a blog for a number of years where I wrote about topics of, sovereign citizen interest, right to travel, property, even children, as far as the state being able to take them. And in law, that doctrine is called parens parente, okay, which means father of the state. And that was invented back in England because the king was in charge of all the orphans and all the feeble-minded people. The king was sort of like the guardian of them. That's why you got orphanages and that kind of thing. And they used it here in the States. And I've actually got case law where the court said that the reason that the baby is given to the parents is not because they're the parents, but because the state sees them as the best to care for their product there, because the state actually believes that the child is theirs. You're just the caretaker of the child. Okay. Now, I'll break all this stuff down real quick and show you what it's really all about. Okay. Because in America, they say that we are governed by consent. Okay. And the way they get consent on us here in America is through a legal doctrine called domicile. Okay. And domicile is used in every country in the world. And it's been around about 1,000 years, and it comes to us from Rome. Okay. And back then, the citizens of Rome said, hey, I've got some pretty good benefits being a citizen of Rome, and I want to pass those benefits on to my child. Right. So they came up with this legal doctrine called domicile. And basically, here in America, we have three types of domicile. We have domicile by birth, we have domicile by choice, and then we have domicile by law. Domicile by birth means that no matter where you're born, your nationality, your allegiance is due to whoever your parents owe allegiance to. Okay? So if your parents are both American citizens, as soon as you're born, you're automatically an American citizen. Okay? And we have domicile by birth up until what's known as the age of majority. Okay? And in different states, it's different. You know, it's usually around 18 or 19 years old whenever we're able to enter into contracts by ourselves. That's the age of majority. And then we have what's known as domicile by choice. Okay? So when we become age of majority, if we want to, here in America, not in most countries, but here in America, we're able to move to Canada. We're able to move to Mexico. We're able to move to Russia. You know what I mean? And say, we don't want to be American citizens anymore. We want to be Russian citizens. Okay? That's domicile by choice. Okay? But again, this is stuff they don't tell people, right? So nobody knows when they turn 18, hey, I either got to stay here and accept the fact that I'm a citizen and I'm bound by all the laws, or I can move. And again, because of the way society is now, because of the way the world is now, there is no way to get away from a political entity. Okay, every inch of the world is governed by a political entity now. So now, you know, I can't.
Unless you move to Papua New Guinea, that's the only place.
Right. So now you can't move anywhere without being a subject or a citizen of a political entity and following whatever rules that society has come up with, right? So we have this domicile, and again, this is something that you know, people, when people study like the sovereign citizens theory, they just focus on law. But I'm going to go into anthropology now, and we're going to go into a book called Man in the Primitive World by a gentleman named Hobel. Okay, and he dedicates a whole chapter to what's known as status. Okay, and he says that in every civilization known to man, the members of that civilization has broken its members up in what's known as statuses. Okay. Now in England, we could see those statuses with like Duke and Lord and King and Knight and whatever. Those were statuses. But here in America, statuses are now husband, wife, taxpayer, convict. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. You look in the statutes. You'll never see in the statutes, you won't never see man or woman.
No.
Okay. You would think, because in America, all
Versus.
all laws are supposed to apply to men and women. So you would imagine you would go into a statute and it would say, you know, all men and women shall not murder, or all men and women shall not steal a car, or whatever. But it never says that. It always says something like person or citizen or husband or resident or individual. Okay, these are all statuses in our society. Okay, so the only way to be free in our world, and I'll give you a real world example that a lot of people have seen and they didn't quite connect it. Okay, so in the world today, the only persons that are free are people that don't owe an obligation to a political entity. Okay, which means that they don't have an allegiance to any nation, state, or whatever. Okay, and today those people are what's known as stateless. Okay, so there's about 3 to 4 million stateless people living in America today. Worldwide, there's about 10 to 11 million people that are stateless. Okay, now an example of a stateless individual is the guy that Tom Hanks played in the movie Terminal.
Yeah.
Okay. If anybody's seen the movie Terminal, there was a gentleman, he was stuck in an airport, right? He couldn't leave the airport because the airport wasn't on his land. It wasn't in his country. He wasn't a citizen.
And his country was collapsing during his flight or something like that. Right?
Exactly.
Hey, can I just say he has terrible luck on planes? Because don't forget Castaway. But continue.
Yeah. So
I know. Right?
So basically, his country was dissolving, so he didn't owe any allegiance to any political entity. and they couldn't just fly him anywhere. You know what I mean? It's not like countries can just fly people and just drop them off in other countries and be like, yeah, he's your problem now, you know? And he was what's known as a stateless individual. And I'd say 99.9% of individuals that are stateless are that way, not because they know the law, but because they don't know the law. You know what I mean? They're like Rights Crispy said, they're refugees from a country that is collapsing. And so, okay, so let's say it's like Romania, for example, okay, and you're a Romanian citizen and you come to Disney World on vacation, and all of a sudden Russia, you know, takes over Romania and there's no more Romania. You don't have a country to go home to. You're not a Russian citizen. You know what I mean? You're a Romanian citizen, but Romania no longer exists. So you're what's considered stateless. You're a refugee. What people don't realize is
I was in Europe with my wife one time, and this guy came up to us. He was like, "Hey, you guys, can you help me? I'm from Czechoslovakia. I need this much money to get back home." I'm like, "Oh my God, buddy. Like 9 years ago, I hate to break it to you, your country broke up."
Yeah, yeah. So
did you sit off a really long bus because?
Hey, Rogue, when Finn gets out of when Finn gets out of line, I just have Joe take care of him. So here,
Shut your mouth.
I did some clips of that.
That's funny.
Okay, continue. Sorry, I love you, Finn. Keep going.
but yeah, no, I mean, I had pretty much wrapped it up as far as that goes. I just, you know, we're at the point now that there's no place to run, there's no place to hide. You know what I mean? Back in the medieval days, you could, you know, say, "F you, king, I'm going to live in the woods over here," or, you know, "I'm going to take a boat over to America and, you know, do whatever." But now every, you know, like I said, every inch of the damn world is covered with these political entities. So,
we boxed ourselves in because people don't like doing things. They like someone else to do it, right? Even down to our own groceries. Someone kills the animal and packages it for you. Somebody grows the food and plants it and picks it and harvests it and brings it to the store. So you can just go in your store, and now you can just go on your app and have it delivered to you. So we've done the same thing with government. It used to be you knew your neighbors, you helped each other out. If you needed the roads fixed, you'd fix them. If someone's on fires, houses on fire, you'd help them. Now I'll just take some of my money, give it to someone else, and they can do it for me. And we fattened up the government so much, and no one was watching them because nobody likes to go to these boring meetings and stuff, and nobody likes to tell other people what to do. Well, some people do. Well, guess what happened? You got people that have power. They got in all these positions like police or TSA. We went over that. That's the worst. They know training, and they molest people daily just because they like the way they look. And so you got people that had no, say, power in real life, and now they can enforce it on other people. And regular people, like you're saying, we're taught from, say, the age of 18, you better get to work and buy all kinds of stuff, like you say, you don't need, and stay in debt, because if you don't have debt, you don't have good credit. If you don't have good credit, you can't get in more debt. I found the more I paid off the things that I owed, the worse my credit got because I didn't have debt. I mean, the society is set up ass backwards. But then you go into the teachings that I deal with is that I believe that this whole thing, I've come through the other side and see that it all is connected. I believe my spirituality, I'll throw it in here because we haven't talked about it all tonight, but real quick, is that I didn't believe in any, I didn't know about the Bible. I didn't know about Jesus, any of that. They taught me as a Jewish child that we read the Torah, and that's the first, we didn't even tell us it was part of the Bible, but it's the first part. And then they say, don't read the second part. And there's no other book you'd ever do that with. And then, in fact, talking to Joe, I found out he's reading the Bible, not knowing that it was the same as I was reading as the Torah. And so they keep us divided on everything. And so when I read it, I started realizing, I believe this is what's going on. I think that the stories in it are true. And every time God saves us, because we cry out because we're under distress. He saves us out of bondage, and then we forget who he is, and we get enslaved into bondage. And so there's a bunch of people that think that we're in, say, Revelation times. I believe we're even gone past that, because we can sit and break down all the weirdness going on in the world and how, think of the Dark Ages where they say nothing happened. We forgot to do everything. Their 1,000-year reign of Christ it would be perfect fitting in there, because when you look at like old coins and buildings, the ones are I's or J's or things. So they've messed with our history. There's channels that you can watch that I go over that cover these Tartarian or just monstrous buildings like Taj Mahal kind of buildings all over the world. No explanation of how they got there. Like even the Lincoln Memorial was put into a swamp before they even had roads, or well, how were they hauling all these giant marble pieces and stuff with donkeys? Like none of it makes sense. However, if you, let's say you had at the time of Armageddon that happens, when Jesus is going away and he talks to the disciples and he tells them that all these events you'll see happen before the end times and before I come back. You'll see all these signs and look for them. And then he says, but this generation won't pass away before it's all over. Now, I've always been taught that's talking about in the future. But what if he's talking about the people he's speaking to right then? If I was in a room with you, Rogan, said, hey, this is going to go down before you die, or the people in this generation die, you'd think we're talking about us. So I think that happened because he also says the people that, like the Romans that strung him up or stuck him, they're going to be around to see him come back too. And then when you throw in Josephus, some other writings of a guy that was around there, not in the scriptures, but he talks about the events. And then when you add all that together, I know on a roll, I'll get to hear it and then see what you think. You look at the buildings and they go deep into the ground all over the world. In Seattle, there's a whole other underground city and they're all over the place. What if all we're seeing is the buildings that didn't get destroyed in Revelation, that didn't get melted or mudded or whatever you want to call it? We're seeing the tops of them and the rest of them are underground. And that would then put us in the part of the book, because obviously God's not now. We're not seeing people believing in God. We're at the most godless society, I think, in our own history that we've ever seen. And so that would put us in what a short season, or they call it the little season of Satan, which would be the time that he's allowed to deceive the world and mess with us. And I see that happening right now, because everyone, no matter if we believe in the things that, like, say, spirituality, religion, whatever we call it, everyone agrees that we have what? Our God-given rights. That proceeds everything above constitutions and all that stuff. We have rights given to us by God. And the only way, and we have free will, and the only way they can take it away from us is we have to give it away with our consent. And so I believe that's why part of the reason that they show us that they're doing these things to us straight up, if you look for it, or they lie to us straight up and you can find it, is because they're in the same rule book as we are. And they have to tell you, we're doing these things, we're lying to you. But if people just say, you know what, I'd rather see what's on Sports Center and here's my money, take care of that problem. Now we've given our consent. It's like when you get something on your Apple phone, you want to download it, you just hit yes. You don't read exactly, like the car thing you were saying. So what were we saying? I kind of went on a rant there.
Oh, I wasn't saying nothing other than the fact that, there's three things that every adult human uses in their life, every day of their life. One is money, two is the law, and the third is our mind. Okay? These are three things that every human adult uses every day of their life. Doesn't matter where you're from, where you live, where you're at. Those are three things that every adult uses every day. And 99% of people have just a barely a passing understanding of any of those three items. You know what I mean? And what happens is is that when we start, we have what's known as core beliefs, okay? And from these core beliefs spring other beliefs, okay? So what happens is, and what has happened in this country, is that we've been fed a narrative, okay? It's actually been beaten into our head, you know, the American dream, Constitution, we're free, we have rights, yada, yada, yada. All this stuff has been beaten into our head. And from that, we formed other beliefs off of that. Okay, so for example, who we consider bootlickers are people that have a core belief that the government is here to help us. Okay, that it's for us, by us, and it would never do anything to harm us. Okay,
And like in 1984, they're the most powerful of the group, even more
Correct.
powerful than the police, more powerful than the government itself. They're the ones who will tell on you.
That's very true.
right. So you have these people with these core beliefs about government, and you know, so naturally, because of that belief, it springs forward that the police are there to help you and would never harm you, and you know, are only good people, you know, and that's why people blindly back the blue, okay, because you know, rationally, nobody backs any other profession like they back the police. Nobody goes around and says, "Yeah, I back all doctors," or "Yeah, I back all bankers," or "Yeah, I back all cab drivers." You know what I mean? Like nobody generally backs an organization like that blindly without, you know, knowing anybody. You don't even have to know anybody. You know what I mean?
No.
You got people from New York saying, "Oh yeah, I backed the blue. Whatever they did in Seattle, Washington, it must have been that guy's fault." You know what I mean? He must have antagonized the cops, or you know, if he would have just did what he was told, you know, that kind of stuff. So people, in order to make it through the muck, all the muck, okay, we have to learn in a certain order, and that order comes at the very beginning, the mind, okay? Because if you don't understand how the mind works, if you don't understand biases, if you don't understand how beliefs work, and how beliefs, our belief system filters every piece of information that comes into our mind. Every action that a human being takes is dictated by their beliefs, okay? If you wake up early in the morning, it's because you believe the early bird gets the worm. If you're a vegan, it's because you believe red meat's bad. Okay? Every action that we take, even if we realize it or not, it could be subconsciously, but every action we take is tied to something that we believe. All right? So if we don't understand our biases, if we don't understand how our beliefs work, it's very easy to manipulate us. Okay? Because again, and it's a famous saying, people believe what they already believe. Okay? And it's why eyewitness testimony is so unreliable. It's why two people seeing the same event standing next to each other can give two separate descriptions of what is going on. Because
I've covered this. If you look at, like, if I look at this magazine, you're seeing a face and I'm seeing this, but we're both at the same time staring at the same object. And it's so easy to example exactly what you're saying. It's about perspective.
Right. So if we don't learn this in the proper way, then everything else that comes after, I've found to just be crap. You know what I mean? Because we can't learn correctly. Like if I don't know how the information on a piece of paper comes through my senses and goes through the thought process to where it comes out of my mouth as an ideal or a thought, or you know, anything of that nature, then I mean, what kind of research am I doing? You know what I mean? Like if people don't realize confirmation bias naturally directs us to resources that agree with what we already believe, then I mean, all we're going to be doing is we're going to be repeating, what I already believe. So we can see this in politics, right? Okay, you got people that their parents are Democrats and they're Democrats. You got people that are Republicans, their parents are Republicans and they're Republicans, and they get their talking points from whatever side, and they repeat it, and they can never get together on a topic, because anybody that's argued with somebody on the other side of an issue, doesn't matter what issue, abortion, guns, drugs, whatever issue you want to take, there's always a side for and there's a side against. And neither side can convince each other side, because of the backfire effect and because of the fact that whenever subconsciously, okay, I'll explain it like this. Our brain is a computer. It's the fastest computer in the world, okay? And you can judge this by yourself by closing your eyes and then opening your eyes. And as soon as you open your eyes, everything that your eye can see has been classified. You know what the color is, the texture is, you know what this is, what that is. Thousands of objects can be within your eyesight, and it's classified, okay? It's the fastest computer on the world. So what keeps viruses out of the fastest computer in the world? What stops the operating system of your brain from becoming confused and conjumbled? Your beliefs, okay? Subconsciously, if something goes against what you believe, your brain automatically dismisses that information as false, okay? So if I believe the grass is blue, and you come to me and you say, oh, the grass is green, before I can even think about what you said, my brain's already dismissed it as false.
Correct.
It happens subconsciously. And that's why two people on the opposite sides of a topic will never come together. Okay? So even if you know you're right, you've done your research, you've got your facts, your figures, your graphs, okay? Let's say you're talking about George Washington being a slave owner or whatever. I don't know if he was or not. I'm not familiar with the topic, but let's just say for this conversation that George Washington was a slave owner, right? And you've got documents, you've even got pictures of slaves on George Washington's plantation. And you show a guy that says, no, George Washington never owned slaves. You will never, ever, ever convince that person that George Washington owned slaves. I don't care how hard you try. I don't care if you bring George Washington back from the dead and have him tell the guy that he owned slaves. He's never, ever going to believe that. Do you know why?
Tell me.
Because 98% of the time, people won't change their beliefs unless they change them themselves.
Correct.
It's easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled.
Exactly.
And I got one, that's Mark Twain, I believe, but I got one from Martin Lidke. The mind is like a parachute. It works best when open.
Absolutely. And people will
Wait, I got to do this. Okay, sorry.
and you know what's funny is people will always say that they're open-minded. And usually when people tell me that is my first clue that they're not really open-minded.
Right. It's a what do you call that? A tell or whatever.
Exactly.
Projection.
They're like, oh, I watch CNN and Fox. And I'm like, so you watch two sources that are both feeding you bullshit.
I haven't watched those in years, and I'm so glad.
Right. And again, I mean, everybody has a bias. You know what I mean? So, and again, this is why it's so important that we understand how this stuff works, because everybody has a bias. The teacher has a bias, the politician has a bias, and you don't always know where those biases lie. You know what I mean? Like, you get reports from the American Medical Association, and you're like, oh, well, these guys are doctors and they're professionals and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, but who's paying their salary? Who paid for that report? You know what I mean? Like, there's biases everywhere. And you got to take that into consideration, and a lot of people don't. And it's sad. It's really sad because, and this is again how we know that it's not just coincidence. You know, it's not just this just didn't happen this way. You know, they have actively kept this information from people. I mean, if you go looking for the information, it's all out there. You know what I mean? Like nothing is hidden.
No.
You know,
but nobody does. That's it. We're a society of people, like I said, that they take no responsibility for their lives and they have other people do it. Again, generalization, not talking about the, 20 people watching me.
Right,
but you know what
right.
I mean?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, a lot of people I find to be what I call diet woke. All right. Like Diet Coke, but diet woke. And what that is people that, okay, let's say the anti-vaccination movement.
Well, we won't talk about that. I don't know anything about what you're saying. We're not medical doctors. Move on to the other. How about the woman topic you were discussing? You said that laws have to be a man or a woman. They never say that. And now we can't even decide what that even means. It's all about confusion, right? It's the same kind of idea.
Well, right. And I kind of lost track of
That's
where
right. I was
going
trying
with
to
that.
steer you away from a certain area that we
we
really
can't
go.
about that.
We're not going to go there. Hey,
Right.
you know what? I love this. We're 3 hours in. I still have so much to do. There's no way I'll play that game. We'll do it maybe another time. But I don't want you to leave tonight before I hit on a couple of things that really I think might resonate with you. And so one of the things that I talk about, whatever you believe, say the Mandela effect is, I believe things are changing on a molecular level that they didn't teach us is possible. And why is that happening? I think it goes back to it's potentially the creator. Everything is allowed through the creator, but it's God or Yahweh, Yahuwah, however you want to say his name, waking us up and letting us know we live in a lie. And so, say for instance, I watched one of your videos and I found out. See, I do research before I talk to a guest. You're into oh shoot, not Motley Crue. What's the Eddie? The
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden. Thank you. I was drawing a brain freeze. Iron Maiden. In fact, I believe you even have right there. You go. A tat. I don't know. Eddie.
For him, actually.
You did. That's cool.
Yeah.
So was
yeah.
it Dead Eddie or something? Isn't that? Oh, and that's what I want to talk about. Well, I'll show you. So let's see. So where is he? Clickety click. Here we go. So where I got into this is because there were things I couldn't explain. So here. All right. You recognize him. Anybody that doesn't know who Iron Maiden is, back with the 80s or so, they were a heavy metal band, but the thing they were most famous for was the drawings of their album covers. In fact, I think I read it that they sold maybe 50% of their albums just because people bought them for the cool artwork and maybe never listened to it. Am I doing okay with this so far, Major?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. So now, do you see this flag he's got? It's called the Union Jack. And you see how it's perfectly symmetrical other than where it's been worn, torn, right? But in the current history that we live in, I'm sorry? I couldn't hear you.
And it's a combination of those three flags.
Yeah.
St. Andrews, St. George.
So in the current history that we live in, it's like this. They're not symmetrical. They never have been. And yet multiple places, including the Iron Maiden cover, they have it wrong. And so that's one of the things that when I find something, let's say, that I can't explain, I put that on. We used to call it a coincidence shelf. I don't believe in coincidence, but let's say we'll put it on the shelf if you can't explain it. And eventually there's so many that it's kind of undeniable that they would have drawn this incorrectly. And that's just one. I also found this one. You seen this where he's in Uncle Sam garb?
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Sam never had that hat in this current history. It's always looked like that. There are no red stripes. And if you look up Uncle Sam costume, it's going to have the red stripes. But the original poster that we go off of never had it. That's weird. And I kind of chose those two specifically because of the Iron Man covers. Any of that, what are you thinking about any of that? That resonating with you in one way or the other? What do you think?
I mean, there's a lot of underlying currents and stuff with not only music but TV, movies, and stuff like that to help kind of direct and guide us to where they want us to go. You know what I mean? Like they work on what's known as a problem reaction solution model. Okay,
Right, that's a new world order.
Right,
Yeah.
they know the solution they want, so they come up with a problem that'll create the reaction that'll get them the solution that they want. A lot of people believe that, and I'm not talking about the current one here in Texas, but a lot of people believe that some of the mass shooting events have been staged events in order to create the reaction of taking the guns away.
Allegedly, but I understand what you're saying.
Right, that's why I said, that's why I said allegedly.
I didn't say that on this channel. We'll just, these are my guests' ideas. We open to all ideas.
Right. And again, it's alleged. Nothing's been proven.
Man, Finn, you know what? I got to give you one of these. Where's Joe? Let's see.
Quiet.
Dude, here's the thing. You guys, you do an amazing job of what you do with your audits and stuff. But we have a whole other set of rules that we have to play by because they actively go after channels if you want to talk about anything dealing with this current situation we deal in. And so I always tell people, follow the government's advice and CDC. I'm not a doctor or a lawyer. I do have a stethoscope when I want to act like one like they do. But no,
you're free to
I'm
talk
on
about
board.
cloud cocks. Like Jen pointed out, cloud cocks are totally fine.
Oh, you want to talk about you? Okay, real quick. Do you guys see this? This is insane. I had to. Oh, come on. This is probably one of some of my best work here. If you didn't see this majorly, here, look. It's only a minute. What is it? A minute or two. Look at this. Where is it? This one. Here. No. This one. Here we go. Ready? Where is it? Okay. Picture go larger. Okay, here you go. What do you think of that?
Satellite operative, Captain. Radar.
Okay, come on, people. Now they're just literally dicking with it. This is over my house.
He's like, okay, come on. That's enough now, Air Force.
Space
Force.
You tell me.
But it looks like a giant.
Come on. Come on.
What's coming out of it?
Come on, people. This is just a clown. When are we going to wake up? What's this called? Shoot the moon.
It's getting engorged.
Hide it now that I've exposed it. I'm laughing at it. They've got one of their
moon condoms.
Wonder Woman is in this one. If I can focus.
This is great.
Yeah, my wife said it looks like this. All right, let me look at that.
It's
cool.
Pupping action.
That is. We won't be able. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Definite cuppage. Hey. Yeah, they're separating the moon. It's a moon condom.
There's a whole urethra there and everything.
For those of you keeping score, the cloud cock, as we're now proudly calling it, has gotten larger, girthier, but still being held in a gentle caress by a little darker, just grayish cloud.
But with two balls.
Oh, shoot.
Satellite tracking continues.
Come on. Now they're just messing with us. That was over our house for the whole freaking day.
Oh, yeah.
It's nuts.
They're screwing you, buddy.
You know that we would like.
You got me. What I gotta give him this.
Oh,
one.
we say, like, we get people saying, "Oh man, there's helicopters flying over to my house. I'm a targeted citizen," and this is happening, and people would laugh them off. Rogue, tell them what happened with that NBA player.
Oh yeah. So I got a client out in California. He's flown me out twice, once last year and then again this year. And basically, what happened was he was a professional ball player in the European League. He's an American guy, so he went over to Europe, played some ball over there. He came back home to L.A. He's now a successful businessman. He owns like 40 burger franchises or something like that. I'm not sure. He's got his hands in a few different businesses, but he ended up messing around with this chick who was somehow connected to LAPD, LAPD helicopter pilot. And ever since he had messed around with this young lady, and obviously it's not still going on today, but ever since then, the LAPD helicopters have been like buzzing this guy. You know what I mean? And like flying over his house. And this guy spent like a ton of money to like prove this stuff. He's got, the flight radar that can track the helicopters, so he knows exactly where they are and what they're doing. And he even hired a private investigator who was an ex-LAPD officer. And when I talked to the investigator, he had followed my client from his house to the gym, to his girlfriend's house, out to dinner. And he says that helicopter, because he was following behind him in the car ways back, with all his camera equipment, whatever. And he followed them. He followed the copter following them to each location. And he's got a scanner in his car. He said the only time that helicopter left was when he got a call that he had to respond to, and he took off. But he said otherwise, he goes, he followed, my client's name was Joe. Wow. He followed Joe from his house all the way around. And like I said, this guy's loaded. He actually lives right now in the drummer of Motley Crue, Tommy Lee's old house in Calabasas, California. Wow. I mean, this guy's loaded. He's got a ton of money. And he's paid for me to fly out twice now to come out there and videotape these guys and harass them, and give them a little bit back that he's getting. And, you think, oh, well, this, only a little bit here and there. This has been going on, I think, now for close to 10 years.
Wow.
It's been going on.
And that's terrible, but at least, you can at least find the people that are doing, like, who, if I hired you, how would you find who made the cloud penis in my, like, who's literally screwing with me?
Well, right. Well, yeah, first of all, we'd have to have, some kind of video footage of whatever made that, if you're saying, hey, these guys, keep coming by my house, and one day they left the cock, and the other day they left the duck, and
that's what happened. They're like, that guy Richard's gonna have another one of those live streams again. Let's give Dick some dick, and they put it out there.
I have to thank
Operation Eggplant.
You brought this gentleman to my life, and he's literally going to come up with ways to figure out who's dicking with me. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay. What do we have? I've got 1,000 tabs. I'll never get to them. Oh, I did want to do two things, I promise. One is there's a gentleman that I've talked with quite a bit in the last, whatever year or so. And he started a channel basically as an auditor, but now he talks about all kinds of subjects and stuff. But every once in a while, you can't get the auditor out of him. And I tell him I worry about him because, he's got kids and stuff. And here, look, steal their souls. Get them all. Get them all.
Okay, Sealand fan, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Please, go ahead.
There's a gentleman blessed up. He had a comment said, "Why would they waste all that time and effort flying a helicopter over someone?" And I want to clarify that, so just it's a little bit more clear for him. And that is the fact that LAPD, LA Sheriff's Office, they have 24 helicopters in the air at all times. Okay, so it doesn't. First of all, it doesn't cost them anything. Okay, because they don't pay for shit. It comes from the taxpayers. But second reason is because when they're up in the air, in between calls, they have nothing to do. So, and this isn't just for this guy. LA, I mean, you can Google it online, and there's all kinds of citizens that will tell you that LAPD is surveilling them from the sky. All right, and basically, you know what? Again, we got to think. So I'm thinking to myself, I know cops that drive around, and in between they're doing, arrests or whatever, and they mess with people, right? They harass people. So why would it be any different if they're in a helicopter than a car, right? So what's happening now, it's gone on for a while, and what's happening, and it's not illegal. And I told my client Joe, I told him, I said, dude, this isn't illegal. It's harassing. It's kind of dickish, but it's not illegal. There's nothing you could do about it per se. And basically now what it is because they know that this gets Joe riled up, right? And he's got money. So he's been to the city council. He's been to the mayor. He's been to the FBI. You know what I mean? He's done all this. So they know it riles him up. So now, hey, we got, an extra 20 minutes. We just got off a call. We ain't got nothing to do. We're over here by Calabasas. Let's buzz
double
Joe's
down on stupid.
Yeah, let's buzz by Joe's place. Now, when I first met Joe, he lived in a nice house. And that wasn't Tommy Lee's house, but he lived in a nice house on a hill. It was all glass. So if you're up in a helicopter, you can see all in his house. You can watch his wife. You can watch his kid. I mean, those guys out in L.A. that are up there in those helicopters, dude, they're gathering all kinds of intel. They're gathering intels on politicians. They're gathering intels on movie stars. They're gathering intel on drug dealers. For those that don't know it, there's actual gangs in the LA Sheriff's Office, actual gangs inside the Sheriff's Department, okay? Groups of deputies have formed gangs, criminal gangs, okay? And initiation is for you to kill somebody. Then you're accepted into the gang. Okay, one of the gangs is called the Banditos. I'm not sure what the other one is called. And again, this is all public information. You can look it up. It's documented.
Yeah, Los Angeles
this shit is
Sheriff's
not
Gang.
unknown, right? Right. This shit is not unknown.
No,
People
they're
know
no
about
longer theories and conspiracies. These are actual documented things, but nobody knows about them or looks for them. Yeah.
Exactly. Again, because again, if it doesn't affect our life, we tend not to exercise, time and energy looking at stuff, So, but yeah,
and if it puts our lives in a negative way where we don't want to talk about it, like those kids being locked up, we don't want to think about it. We want to turn our heads and look away. We don't want to focus on that. We don't want to look at that. And if nobody looks, what happens to those kids without visitors or family?
I mean, there's a perfect example. I forget the gentleman's name. You guys know. He stands with a sign, and it's cardboard, and it says,
That's
God
Jeff
bless.
Gray.
I'm sorry?
That's the guy we were saying inspired us both, Jeff Gray.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he stands in a place, public place, and the sign will just say, God bless the homeless veterans. But he does this interesting thing with to try to make people think, and he takes and makes certain words big and certain words small. And so when you read a sign from a distance, it says God bless homeless. But the small words, God bless then the homeless veterans. So then people get upset. They want to throw them out because they don't want a homeless guy or someone talking about veterans or whatever in front of their grocery store or wherever he happens to be, whatever public space, street corners in the middle of, or it was a bus station. They wanted to trespass him from all the buses because he stands here. He didn't ask for money from anyone. He's just exercising this exercise, not just of free speech, but like you say, people don't focus on things if it doesn't bother them. If he's in their way to get to their stuff, they'll make sure they move him out of the way, but they won't look at the core problem of why are these things happening. And that goes with my channel. One of these days we'll have another discussion to talk about the billions of dollars that NASA takes from us to show us cartoons, when Flint, Michigan, and a lot of countries all over the US, we have shitty water or bad infrastructures or homelessness or this, that. We never spend money on that, but we ship money away. Like
has a faster high-speed rail system than ours, a more efficient. Uzbekistan.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt
That's
it.
the country that Borat makes fun of.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. All right. Oh, he's being funny. Where are you, Joe?
Quiet.
Sorry.
That was fine. So, okay, well, real quick before I get completely lost again. So there's this gentleman. He goes by. Well, his name was. He started his channel as Michelle L because it was his wife's phone as a story. But no, it got confusing, and so he switched his name to Ray, which is my dog's name, and he goes by Boston Ray Mudfloods, and he's an auditor and. But he doesn't do that really. He does other things. But every once in a while, he'll get on a bus and he'll stand up for people's rights. He's had one where he had they stopped the bus. He waited. The cops came and they forced the bus driver to like go again. Or one time the cop took him where he was going to go. So it's like he does stand up for it. But what happened just the other day, like you say that you're talking about how they harass with the helicopters and all that. So right off the bat, he's in this mall. And he's talking about, oh, I know, he walked by a booth and somebody came out and said, you're not allowed to film inside a mall, like in a mall. And so he's like, he told them how they're wrong. Meanwhile, security hears this or is told of this. Now they start shadowing him all over the mall. And then his kid does child does what any child does at that age if they want to be a little, what did you say, trouble. It runs up and he runs up and down the escalators. And so as soon as Ray goes up, the kid's running back down this one and they do this back. And so finally the security officer starts yelling at Ray saying, don't yell in the mall. And then, he goes and loses it and tells him off and they leave and they go into a food court to eat. But his child is now crying. And so that's where we pick up the story. He goes back up the escalator. This is why this man, he stands in truth too. God bless you, Ray, if you're listening. Hopefully you are. Look at this. This is him going back to the security people that are yelling at him. Watch this.
Hey, don't walk away. Now my fucking
wait. Hang on a second. Whoops. All right. What'd you do, Ray? You messed up my show, Ray.
kid is crying because of you.
Okay. It's too fast. Here we go. All right. We'll do this in post editing. You won't see that, hopefully. Okay, here we go.
Hey, don't walk away. Now my fucking kid is crying because of you. You guys ruined my time at this mall. All right? You guys expect families to come here and spend a lot of money? And you're ruining. What are you, the fucking escalator police? Fuck you. I'm serious. Let's go outside right now. Me and you bald motherfucker.
That's hilarious.
Dude, my uncle did something similar to that. My cousin got his knuckle grabbed by a security guard at a mall for hanging on the escalator railing. And he was with my aunt. And my aunt went up to the security guard and they just like they're like, oh, ma'am, you don't know, whatever. And she said, don't you dare tell your father what happened. And my cousin, of course, went and told his father. And man, my uncle was a bald bull, always had a 3-piece suit and a little revolver on his side. This was in Dominican Republic. So he said, hey, we're going to go to the mall, do some shopping. Come with me, to my cousin. And he's like, okay. He just thought he was going to go out there. He gets there. He sees the security guards. He's like, which one was it? And my cousin points him out. Man, he yoked this dude all the way up to the wall. the other security guards tried to stop him, and he just like opened his jacket up like to show his gun, like, hey, I'm handling something that happened about my son. And everybody was like, okay, sir, carry on. You can't
And then
really
I'll show you real quick. I actually became an auditor by accident. I was at a hotel, and it was during the whole, are you wearing one of those things on your face or not? And so people didn't like us hanging out and having a good time at our own hotel. And someone yelled at someone that wasn't even with our group. And I walked out of a bathroom, and suddenly, like, the hotel manager standing there with a woman and her child saying, one of you yelled at her and ridiculed her daughter and all. And I said, look, man, I don't even know what you're talking about. I literally just walked out of that bathroom. Whatever's going on here, you need to figure this out. Leave me alone. I don't even know these women. It just, get away from me. And so I went outside. Well, within, 10 minutes of that, they called the police, and the police they did throw us off of our own balcony where we were, enjoying their, food and water or whatever and alcohol. So check this out. This is me auditing. Did you know I was an auditor, Finn? And the only reason I have the silence to even do this or ask these questions is because, again, shout out to my wife. She's the one that turned me on all these channels, and I was watching enough to where I was somewhat dangerous. Check it out.
We're saying goodbye, so that's all that's happening right now. We're all separating. People are going home.
Oh, snap.
We've been here for 3 days.
And what's your name and badge number, please? Yes.
My badge number is 333.
Thank you. His badge number is 333, of course.
So we are leaving. We're saying
right on.
Yeah. And we're staying at the hotel. We were drinking their alcohol. This is water. Whatever went down, this gentleman's yelling about 2 women. I don't know. I came out of a bathroom. I don't know what he's talking about. If someone was assaulted, you have an opportunity. You need to talk to those women and figure it out. But you don't come out to a patio of people that have paid money to be in your hotel and excuse me, and accuse them of a crime when we don't even know what you're talking about. Why? What did we do wrong?
So he just came out.
So why are we being sent to our room like a little boy?
Guys, let's just say goodnight.
Wow.
Why do we have to go to our room? Am I a child? Did I do something wrong? Policy. Okay, so we can be somewhere else out, not just on this patio.
Can we be in the field out here?
We go to the field. We can be in front of the lobby outside or in the lobby. That's our hotel, right?
On the patio.
Just not on the patio. Is that what you're saying?
This is our own hotel.
I mean, what are the rules we're breaking? I'd like to know the rules.
Contract.
I'm sorry?
We can go out front of the patio.
So we go out front of the patio, or we can go out in the grass area, because that's public space, right? And any of the sidewalks are public space. We can do that.
Okay.
So they don't want us here. We have not been anything but that.
Now they're trying to get
And
us
other
on
than these
disorderly
people,
conduct.
the rest of the staff in here love us. They've been great. Nothing but wonderful people. Okay, we're out. I get that.
Yeah, let's go, dude.
No problem. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your help with this, officer. Thank you very much. Yeah.
And so basically it continues on, but they kicked us off of our own patio. And in fact, they locked the doors right behind where this guy is. So we couldn't even go back in our own hotel. We had to walk around to go into the front. And so I didn't keep fighting it because, I wanted to have a good time. I didn't want to go to jail over, a patio, But yeah,
that's what a lot of people don't get. I'm not going to go to jail every time just to try to fix stupid.
I like that one. Here, wait, you got to get this one for that one. Where is
That's very true.
No, yeah. the Major League Awesome will tell you. He gets a lot of comments about, like, why didn't you step up? There's never going to be a change unless you go to jail and expect the same results that I expect that are never going to happen because I'm living in a fantasy.
Are any of those people going to pay your legal fees or help you out if there's a problem? No, they're just going to sit on their couch, eat their Cheetos, and bitch at you. It's like troll channels. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most of the people that say that to me are people that I never see, PayPaling me any donations. I mean, I have a lot of great subs, and they're all, most of them are all really supportive. And it could be very well that the people that come into the channel and say, "Oh, you should just get arrested," or it could be officers themselves. You know what I mean? So it could be them just trying to get me off my game, or to put me at their mercy. Because really, when you think about it, that's exactly what they want us to do. They want us to go to jail, even if we beat the charge, and even if we sue them. They don't care, because they're not paying for it. It's the citizens that are paying for it,
Yeah. And that's
So
the thing. You guys have shown that time and time again. When they violate our rights and people sue them, and the city pays out a huge lawsuit, it comes from our money too. They still have no recourse to their actions. They just continue doing it.
I think everybody in the chat agrees that was great work on your part, handling that crowd.
I love you all.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good. And that's what, all we have to do is we have to think. We just have to slow life down for a minute. And when we're confronted with situations, we gotta think, and we gotta react, accordingly. And part of that is anytime that you're faced with a government official, be it a cop, be it a tax collector, be it the damn dog catcher, doesn't matter. We need to record those interactions, because when it comes to a court of law, citizens are automatically at a disadvantage. And by that, I mean that the court automatically presumes that the government agent is acting in good faith. Okay? So if you don't have any evidence otherwise, then you're always, if it's your word against the government agent's word, you will always lose. And it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how much money you have, what job you have. I got a gentleman, I'll tell you a specific story. I have a gentleman that's from South Florida. He was a professional cowboy and did the rodeos. He's after he got out of doing the rodeos, he became a firearm instructor down in South Florida. And I kid you not when I say that this gentleman is straight up badass with guns, right? And he trains a lot of law enforcement. All right. And down in his city, he grew up there, and he lives about a block from the mayor. He grew up with the mayor. He grew up with the city manager. And he had an incident where he was coming out of a fast food restaurant, and he was confronted with two cops, and they treated him pretty badly. And he went to the mayor, his longtime friend, grew up around her, and he tried to make a complaint. And he made the complaint. He made the request to see what happened on that complaint, and what he found out was that nothing had happened. And when he tried to seek redress from the city again, he got kind of like blacklisted. Like nobody, his old buddy, the mayor, wouldn't speak to him. The city manager wouldn't speak to him. No one would speak to him. So he started doing videos like we do. All right. And he was going to run actually for mayor. He put his hat in the ring to run for mayor. Well, the next thing you know, they got code enforcement going to his neighbors' homes, busting his neighbors for code violations, and telling his neighbors that they were there specifically because of his actions. And it made him stop doing videos and made him stop running for mayor. And again, these are people that he grew up with that are doing this to him.
That technique is called the heckler's veto. They try to get the populace. The government will try to get the populace against you to be the hecklers against you and veto you. The heckler's veto.
Well, you're back to the same system that I talk about, is that nothing that's happened in say the last couple of years, the craziness that's going on that we're really not going to talk about right now, but none of that has ever been forced on us. They give us suggestions, they give us proclamations, they give us executive orders, which is still just a suggestion. It's not a law. It's got to go through government and have it signed into law and voted on. Never happens. They just write a document and people think it's a law, just like the regular costumes that we've been talking about. And so then they do whatever the televised vision tells them to do, regardless whether or not it's legal or right. But if you give up your consent and you give up your rights and say, yeah, okay, I'll let you regulate my body now, what I can stick into it and how I can cover it, how I can breathe, I'll let you regulate all of that because you're smarter than us and you've been in Congress forever. Like, what is it? Nancy Pelosi, she like had sex with John Kennedy. She's been in so long. Those bloodlines, they just put in whoever they want. I don't believe any of our votes count once you get past, say, when you go governor up, definitely on the larger states.
Yeah, I agree.
After that, they're just put in there, and it's all pomp, bread, and circus, whatever you want to call it, pomp and circumstance. We get to vote and think that we're making a difference, and then we can scream and yell at each other and fight. Meanwhile, the puppet masters just laugh and take all of our money.
Right. I mean, you have.
And on that happy note, I got a boogie, man. It's 12:34. I always the time at that time. But
I got those too. Yeah, but
hey guys, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll have any of you back on. We'll have to do more discussions. And
yeah, we definitely
I'd
have
love
to
to
come
talk
back.
to you again. Yeah. So let's see. Well, I'll start with Major Lee. It's been my privilege. You have amazing knowledge. We've just nicked the surface of it. Shout out to my wife for even knowing about all this, and you're one of the originals. Oh, and Direct D was another one. Both you guys were in the way Tyrant. We talked to cops we'd never seen before. So thank you for that. Thank you for standing up for our rights. And even though the people that you're standing up for still yell at you, God bless you for the work that you do. And the same with you, Crispus of Texas, and Joe. You're out there. Thank you so much.
Thanks to Joe for introducing us to you, man. He made this happen. Joe, cameras everywhere, Surveyor Raw.
Excellent. Well, here's the thing. Put a fork in us. We're done. So I'm just I'll close out just by saying, may God watch the Father in heaven, Yahuwah, Yahweh, whoever you want to insert your name there that you want to use. May he watch over us and guide us through these times. We've never found ourselves in times like these. And so with your guidance, with your love, and with your wisdom, and you'll get us through this. If we can't find our way around it, you'll get us through it. And with your love and grace, we'll become better people as a community. And thank you, Father, for watching over us, and continue to do so. In Jesus' name, amen. Whatever that
Amen.
is.
Yeah.
Thanks again. And that's about it. I play out an outro so that way people can talk to each other. Do you either one of you have anything to say? You got something new coming up that you want to promote, a new video popping or something? We'll start with you, Finn, since
Well, actually, I don't, but Major League Awesome, you got a trip.
We're done with you. We'll go to Major League.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just record, any interaction, and definitely psychology is something that definitely needs to be on everybody's reading list and understanding to be better, and to understand more.
Okay, I agree. Thank you much. Thank you both. And with that, I play this. Where is it? This guy.
Thank you. Thanks to the chat. You have.
Wait, you're talking. They can't hear you. Go ahead. What?
That you have some great subscribers. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Everybody watching now and later.
I agree. We've got some great people in here. All right. Now we'll do this.
Class is dismissed.
All right. Good night, everyone. And it's been great. Let's do this again, God willing. Good night.